Hi, good morning. You're welcome to The Big Issue. The Big Issue is live on 97.3 City FM, on City TV, Facebook Live, and around the globe at citynewsroom.com. The Big Issue is your most preferred Saturday morning news and current affairs analysis program. My name is Selom Adunu. This week has been very busy. It started off with the sacking of Energy Minister Boakye Ejaku. The presidency said he was sacked because of how he handled the Ameri Novation and Amendment Agreement. We will look at that issue into a bit more detail today. Soon after his dismissal, the president, Nana Akufo-Addo, undertook his first ever reshuffle as president. Was it just a shuffling of the ministers around, or there was some focus or purpose to this? What does the reshuffle say about the direction of the president for the remainder of his first term? Does that say anything about areas of emphasis for the Akufo-Addo presidency? We will also delve into that in a bit more detail. We also look at the matter of the UT Bank and Capital Bank. This week, we've had leaked documents from the Bank of Ghana detailing investigations into the matter and how matters of corporate governance, how lending to related parties, amongst other things, resulted to the collapse of these two banks. Also, we will look at the matter of the double intake into the free senior high school system. Did the education minister's presser this week lay all matters to rest? Do we still have questions regarding the criterion for selecting schools which will be on this system? Mind you, not every secondary school or senior high school in the country will be on the double intake system. Some schools will run the normal calendar. I invite you to join the discussion with your comments on WhatsApp using our number 0549986996, on Twitter. The hashtag is The Big Issue. I will read out those comments as and when you send them. You can also watch us on Facebook Live. Just look for City TV GH or City 97.3. Like the page and watch us. The number of comments down there, just add your comment to it and we'll be happy to read it to the rest of the world. Once again, this is The Big Issue. You're welcome. I'll return quickly, introduce my guests, do some updates, and then we'll delve into the discussion. Don't go away. You're welcome back to The Big Issue, live on 97.3 City FM and on City TV. The presidency has confirmed that Mr. Boakye Ejaku's removal from office as energy minister was due to his handling of the Ameri Novation and Amendment Agreement. The president, Nana Akufo-Addo, earlier in the week in a statement signed by his director of communications, sacked Mr. Ejaku. The statement did not give any reason for the action, but the director of communication later in a City News interview said that Mr. Akufo-Addo sacked Mr. Ejaku in the interest of the country and in the interest of his own administration after taking a second look at the amended agreement. Now, the Senior Staff Association of the VRA has lauded the president for taking such swift decision to address this rather controversial matter. Speaking on City TV's major news bulletin, City Newsroom, the vice chairman of the association, Theophilus Tete Ahia, said the woes of Mr. Ejaku started when he refused to consult stakeholders on the renegotiated Ameri deal.
This Ameri deal has been on for some years now. And in 2015-2016, it was a hue and cry of this country. Policy think tanks advised that, look, this deal is not a good deal. But, well, our parliament went into it. We signed on to it. We've done 2.5 years. We've left with 2.5 years more to go. And coming and renegotiating this deal, several advices were given to him. Committees were formed. All the committees pointed to the fact that, look, if you are not bringing the cost down, it doesn't worth renegotiating this deal. But he refuses. He went ahead to submit to Parliament. Most people who were involved in this business were not consulted.
Like who and who and who? VRA and who?
VRA, senior staff, there are other stakeholders in this business, right? Ministry of Finance, Attorney General, and all those people. I really want to go there. The VRA specifically was not consulted fully.
The City FM Literacy Challenge is back. Are you a JHS student? Are you willing to contribute to change? What would you do if you were the president of Ghana? Do you want to win a whopping 10,000 Ghana cedis? If yes, then participate in the Literacy Challenge 2018. Level 1. The year is 2035. The law allows people below age 40 to contest the presidency. As a presidential candidate in a general election, in no less than 600 words, write your manifesto speech. Remember, letter must be in your own handwriting, must be endorsed by a parent or guardian. Add your full contact details and post to the Literacy Challenge, P.O. Box GP 14123 Accra Central, or drop it off at the front desk of City FM at the Braka behind the police station. Level 2. The top 50 students selected from all over Ghana shall take a written general knowledge quiz. And finally, Level 3. The top 10 students shall compete in the classic quiz competition to win the ultimate prize of 10,000 Ghana cedis. The Literacy Challenge is powered by 97.3 City FM and sponsored by Data Bank Edifund and MoneyGram with support from City TV. Closing date for entries is Friday, 10th August 2018. Call 0205-973-973 for more inquiries. Terms and conditions apply. For regular news checks as they unfold. 2020 news. All day, all the time. Politics, sports, entertainment, business, and more. 2020 news. We bring you the world in 20 minutes.
And that's all the news in 20 minutes.
Live music, interviews, poetry, and more with your favorite personalities. Be our guest on Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. for the most exciting moments on TV. Join Kojo Akoto Boateng for real entertainment right in your living room. Saturday live on City TV and City 97.3 FM.
Wherever the weekend sporting action happened, we will bring it to you here on Scorecard. Every goal, every dunk, every punch, the winning strides, and the winning volleys.
International media, he said, look, wait, sit and wait. Let me have a meal with my people. And I think that's the same cool, it's the same organization he brings to the field every time I've seen him play. He looks to me like somebody who has played over 50 caps already. Okay. But this guy has barely played over 25 caps for the national team.
All of the weekend's action in one place. Scorecard, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. prompt on City TV.
Go.
Spend 30 minutes every weekday catching up with all the trending social media conversations of the day. If you tweet it, we'll read it. We might just even Skype you.
Just, no matter your situation, you can rise to the top.
Absolutely.
You really
and
can.
It's interesting that he wrote this article on the 17th of June, and on the 18th of June, yesterday, he actually scored 2 goals in the Belgium World Cup meet.
30 minutes is all it takes, so use the hashtag 30minutes on social media to catch our attention. Join the most interactive social media TV show weekdays at 5 p.m. only on City TV.
We spice up your mornings with culturally enriched conversations, social interviews, and policy-oriented discussions that will keep you updated on the progress of the nation.
months, because we're giving only those in their third trimester. So in the next 3 months, those in their second would be ready to receive the kits. And we're taking data at registration, which is before they take the kit, at delivery and post-delivery, so that we can analyze and we'll see the numbers. So from the numbers and the data that we're collecting, we would know what has worked, what hasn't worked,
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Let your voice be heard with the hashtag Breakfast Daily. Join us for breakfast daily, only on City TV.
The City FM Literacy Challenge is back. Are you a JHS student? Are you willing to contribute to change? What would you do if you were the president of Ghana? Do you want to win a whopping 10,000 Ghana cedis? If yes, then participate in the Literacy Challenge 2018. Level 1. The year is 2035. The law allows people below age 40 to contest the presidency. As a presidential candidate in a general election, in no less than 600 words, write your manifesto speech. Remember, letter must be in your own handwriting, must be endorsed by a parent or guardian. Add your full contact details and post to the Literacy Challenge, P.O. Box GP 14123 Accra Central, or drop it off at the front desk of City FM at the Braka behind the police station. Level 2. The top 50 students selected from all over Ghana shall take a written general knowledge quiz. And finally, Level 3. The top 10 students shall compete in the classic quiz competition to win the ultimate prize of 10,000 Ghana cedis. The Literacy Challenge is powered by 97.3 City FM and sponsored by Data Bank Edifund and MoneyGram with support from City TV. Closing date for entries is Friday, 10th August 2018. Call 0205-973-973 for more inquiries. Terms and conditions apply.
Spend 30 minutes every weekday catching up with all the trending social media conversations of the day. If you tweet it, we'll read it. We might just even Skype you.
Sometimes I feel, when we are all humans. When somebody says something about me, no, I might want to say something.
Yeah.
So, but when I say, people shouldn't take it like taking things, personal and stuff. I've understood showbiz now, and I really want to work on it like that.
30 minutes is all it takes, so use the hashtag 30minutes on social media to catch our attention. Join the most interactive social media TV show weekdays at 5 p.m. only on City TV.
Live music, interviews, poetry, and more with your favorite personalities. Be our guest on Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. for the most exciting moments on TV. Join Kojo Akoto Boateng for real entertainment right in your living room. Saturday live on City TV and City 97.3 FM.
Wherever the weekend sporting action happened, we will bring it to you here on Scorecard. Every goal, every dunk, every punch, the winning strides, and the winning volleys.
International media, he said, look, wait, sit and wait. Let me have a meal with my people. And I think that's the same it's the same organization he brings to the field every time I've seen him play. He looks to me like somebody who has played over 50 caps already. Okay. But this guy has barely played over 25 caps for the national team.
All of the weekend's action in one place. Scorecard, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. prompt on City TV.
Hi, you're welcome back to the big issue. Apologies for that lull not in transmission per se, but in the program. It was due to a slight technical hitch, and we've resolved that, thankfully, and we are back on. So, as we were saying, the Senior Staff Association of the VRA was lauding the president for the action he took on Boakye Ejiakon. Also, the executive director of the Institute for Energy Security, Mr. Anamoah Sechi, indicated that the dismissal of Mr. Boakye Ejiakon alone is not enough to instill sanity in the energy sector.
It's not enough. You see, the minister works with 3 able deputy ministers, one in charge of power, one in charge of petroleum, the other in charge of finance and infrastructure.
Yeah.
They all tie into this deal. Are you saying that it is not for nothing that they were put there? They are supposed to resource the minister. Everybody's supposed to contribute to this. And so we never saw any of them come to say that we disassociate ourselves from the minister's position.
But he is the gatekeeper. Everything rests with the minister.
It shouldn't rest with him alone. That's why each of them has given a definite role. A definite role to perform.
Answerable to the minister.
Answerable to the minister and answerable to Ghanaians as well.
Yes.
And so if we have made a financial loss, incurring financial loss or judgment debt, who will have borne this? High cost of electricity will come back to us. There's the likelihood that we are paying for judgment debt as well. All this at whose expense? It's also expense. None of them spoke against it. Today, we have the minister hanged. And any of them could be made a substantive minister.
That is your issue.
That is our issue as Ghanaians. It's our concern that, look, when things are not made right, everybody has a role to play in making the things right. So we are saying that currently in the energy space, we don't see sanity. Almost every deal or any negotiation we go into with respect to petroleum and power, we seem to get it amiss. And so we are saying that if the president wants to make it right, it must be made right.
All right, so you heard Mr. Anamoah Sechi, who is executive director of the Institute for Energy Security. Some more civil society organizations have also been speaking. The executive director of COPEG, Duncan Amoah, also has been speaking on the matter, and he said that Mr. Ejiakon couldn't have acted alone.
If you follow Mr. Ejiakon's social media handle this morning, he is further putting it out there when the dust settles, his side would also be heard, meaning there are sides. And so we need to know all sides, all parties to this bad agreement. And I'm sure that the president should also be made aware if there are persons behind this agreement, if Ejiakon was forced to append or assign to the agreement, if somebody drafted the agreement and forced the minister to sign, we need to know those persons so that we can also fish and flush them out. In the end, if you punish only Ejiakon and leave the rest, they will move to another ministry. They will move to other deals. And government of Ghana will continue to bleed when we need the resources to fund free SHS. So we are saying that the indications being given from the horse's own mouth indicates that there are bigger fishes behind this bad deal. They should equally be fished out and hanged. It cannot be that Ejiakon went solo. And if he did go solo, we have recommended that an appointee of the government normally will be sworn in under oath. Yes. And when you swear under oath, it means that if you tell a lie, it is termed as perjury in the law. Yes. And so if it is indeed accurate that they went painting a black picture instead of a blue picture to the president, that is perjury. And the law must also be allowed to take its course so that for posterity and for future, references, any official of the state, any appointee engaging in such bad transactions will be mindful of the fact that not only would you get dismissed, but the law would also come after.
So you heard Mr. Duncan Amoah there, who is the executive director of COPEG. Moving on, incoming Minister for Energy, Peter Amewu, has pledged to collaborate with other ministers or ministries to ensure that Ghanaians receive affordable power supply. Mr. Amewu, who was asked to act as energy minister after Mr. Ejiakon's removal from office by the president, was confirmed in Thursday's ministerial reshuffle. He leaves the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry after leading a spirited campaign against illegal mining. Mr. Amewu tells City News he will continue to be a team player.
What people don't know in this country is that this government is one of the collaborative government ever in the history of this country. We work as a team, and that is what His Excellency the President always, impress upon his ministers. So it's a teamwork. So you see one minister in another place playing a supporting role to the other. So it's a collective responsibility. We don't see ourselves as a single minister, responsible and delivering. So that collaborative effort, of course, will be there. And whatever expertise I have, leaving this ministry, of course, I have to help my colleague. Tremor is a very good minister. He's been in the BA, he's been a former regional chairman, it's a lawyer by profession, and he has all the caliber to deliver where that he's been asked to come. So we need to give him the necessary support. So the level of collaboration, of course, will be intense to achieve results. Yeah, we are always asking all Ghanaians, to come on board to help the government in its agenda. The power sector is very key. The petroleum sector is key. And so we expected that if we are able to, as I stated earlier on, stabilize, make power more affordable to the citizens, those areas that have not been accessible for power, we are able to grant them affordable electricity. Then, of course, the growth that we are expected, to see will become very, feasible for everybody, to see. So these are the things that we're looking at.
So you had Mr. John Peter Ameri, who is now Energy Minister. Now, Minority Leader Haruna Idrisu wants a legislative instrument enacted that will ban presidents from appointing more than 65 ministers of state. The Tamale South MP says the current structure, which allows presidents to appoint the number of ministers he pleases, should be curtailed. Speaking at the launch of the National Public Sector Reform Strategy in Accra, Mr. Idrisu said allowing the president to appoint more ministers hurts the public purse.
Mr. President, the size of government, we need as a country to take a collective consensual position on the size of government in Ghana, and it should be by legislation supported by 2/3 majority of parliament, that at no point again in our country's history we will accept ministers exceeding 65. And it should run for all governments and for all presidents. Mr. President, I may share the mathematics with you. If you take the decentralized provisions of the Constitution, regional ministers and deputy ministers times 2, that gives you some 20. Cabinet ministers under Article 78, 79, not exceeding 21 with your good self in the chair and the vice president, times 2 gives you 42. That gives you some 62 ministers of state. Plus the president having an opportunity to appoint 3 other ministers to fulfill what his policy objectives may be. This I suggest to you, Mr. Speaker, to ponder over and consider it as we move forward as a country.
So you heard the Minority Leader, Haruna Idrisu, there. This is The Big Issue. We are live on 97.3 City FM and on City TV. We are also on Facebook Live, and we are live around the globe at citynewsroom.com. My guest this morning, the Honorable Emmanuel Ejaku, MP, Ayawaso West Wogon, Inusa Fuseni, MP, Tamale Central, Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa, Sydney Kisley-Hayford, member of Occupy Ghana. And I think I must add that this morning we have our both already set on the table, and my guests should be happy about that. We want to delve into the discussion straight away, and we'll start off with Emmanuel Ejaku, because that came first in the week, and we'll start with Boachi Ejaku. I must say, fortunately, we have somebody who is been close to the action, a brother in the studio, so we can't help but than to start from there. So, guys, good morning once again.
Good morning.
Yes, Mr. Ejaku, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Yes, I mean, this week, things haven't been well with your side. Your brother lost his job as energy minister. Yeah. How is he doing?
I think he's doing okay. It certainly will be a setback for you, but I think he's doing okay. You go to a job like this fully aware that it is an appointment. I have never had opportunity to be a minister, but I hear on the script, the how do you call it? The script they give you, when you
instrument of office.
The instrument of office. It is stated clearly that you will serve at the pleasure of the president. So it is about the president. So I spoke to him yesterday. He's doing well.
He's doing well. And then did you see this coming, or it was just sudden? Because it appears that almost every bloc in your party at some point, for lack of a better word, ganged up against him. So we had the general secretary, for example, saying that the deal he presented was a bad deal. We read from very close sources to your government that the president felt misled by giving the executive approval, and many other sources. Indeed, at some point, Ameri themselves came out to say that they did not know anything about the particular arrangement. So it appears he was acting alone.
Well, first and foremost, let me thank you for inviting me. It's been a while, and good morning to you. Good morning to my fellow discussants, and good morning to viewers again. Let me place a caveat here. When an issue touches you personally, you must be very guarded. And that is exactly what I will attempt to do here. Let me say, without equivocation, that government, and this government, and the success of this government is more important than any person. No person is indispensable. And whatever it takes, this government must succeed. Who said what and who did what, all of it is immaterial. I will want to stick to the official, what the spokesperson for the president said, that the president feels that for the sake of this country, for the sake of the people of this country, and for the sake of his administration, the minister has to go. And I think that is what matters.
Yeah, but he connected it to the Ameri.
Yes, it is because he has looked at it. It did not go well. So for the sake of this country, for the sake of Ghanaians, and for the sake of his administration, the minister has to go. Who said what? Who did what? What CSO said.
But you see,
it's for me, it's all not important.
Yeah, but you know, we learn from the past. And if the whole president could be said, or the whole president was gotten to give executive approval to a deal like this, it's a big matter, you know. And the president comes back to say maybe he didn't look at it well, like you're saying. It's certainly a big matter, and it's not something we should just sweep under the carpet.
Look, this is not the first time
that a
president has done something and asked that it should be taken back. It's not the first time. I believe that in the cabinet on Thursday, apart from the Ameri deal, there was a ban on fishing that the president considered that, well, I have asked that the ban should take place this year, but upon reflection, I will push it to next year. VAT. When VAT was going to be introduced.
Yeah, but you see, the two may not necessarily be the same, because one has to do with the state committing a lot of resources, you know, resources that we say we don't have.
Yes.
And this is a fishing ban. I mean, the two are not
I think that what we are talking about is executive decision.
In respect of a certain matter.
Yeah, executive decision in respect of a certain matter. Who says, have you quantified the cost of fish production and all of it, and the consequences of we losing out in fish production? Have you quantified it? Have you found out how many people are involved daily in the fishing industry? Okay. I would even go back as far back as the days of the introduction of VAT. When people rose up against it and said there was something wrong, the president then stepped back. Okay. For me, I would want to say that the president did what he had to do. There was too much noise, and no president should do anything. After all, he went out to the people to say that I will cater to your interests. He asked for their mandate with a promise that I will make your life better. I can say that even with the same Ameri thing, in a previous instance, there was so much noise. In spite of all the noise, a government went ahead and said, let's do it. This president decided that this noise from the good people of this country compels me to relook. I think that the president did well, and I commend him.
Very well. So does Boakye Jackor feel sacrificed in this matter? I mean, the president, you said the president did what he had to do. There was so much noise. Does it feel he was sacrificed?
He hasn't told me that he was sacrificed.
Well.
No.
Okay.
But like I said, it is the president's call.
Sure.
And it is the president's call. He has not told me he felt he's been sacrificed. The president needed to do what he has to do.
Very well. So maybe a final one on this. What is he doing now? What does his future look like in respect of politics, MPP politics?
Well, it's in the hands of God. It is God who he appoints at times and seasons. And that's what I can say.
Very well. Honorable Inusa, it appeared like a very difficult call for the president to make. Sacking his former campaign manager in the 2012 election should certainly be a big deal.
Well, big deal for sacking your campaign manager?
No, I mean, the fact that he was quite a huge figure in the party, and given the circumstances surrounding the decision, it certainly should have been one which should have taken some effort to do.
Well, it didn't take any effort for the president to do. And you must understand that he had to sacrifice Boakye Jackor. It's unfortunate. Mr. Emmanuel Jackor is my very good friend. I'm not close to Boakye Jackor. I hear he's a very nice man. But Emmanuel, I can say that he's a very good man. I've worked with him, especially when he was in the Food and Drugs Board. I don't think that it has been a difficult decision. The president was between the devil and the hard rock. Yeah. And so he took a decision. Okay? He knew what Boakye Jackor means to his government. And he has appreciated the contribution of Boakye Jackor to his government. But again, he needed to take a decision. And so he took a decision. Now, whether the decision is good is another problem.
Okay.
Okay. And whether the decision is all encompassing is what we should interrogate.
Okay.
Because you see, I have been privileged to be a minister. And I know that a minister cannot sit in his office alone and work out an agreement. Okay, as a matter of fact. Ameri was a very controversial deal from the beginning. The MPP had made it so. It became a campaign issue. They had vowed to rescind the decision or the agreement, to annul the agreement if they were given the mandate by the people of this country. So it was top on their agenda. So the first thing that the minister did upon assuming office was to constitute a committee led by Addison.
Yeah.
So yes, so these are indicators. Addison went engaged and came back. The second thing, most important action the government took was against the former minister, his deputy, and the deputy attorney general. They seized their phones and took their phones to London and disassembled the phones to see whether they were communication between Ameri.
You know that for
I know that as a fact. That's why I'm speaking authoritatively on this matter. And came back. They found nothing. Now, it didn't stop there. The Katie Hammond filed a motion of rescission in Parliament to rescind the deal on the basis of the fact that we were misled into even entering the deal.
In the first place.
In the first place. Okay. So, all these are pointers that when you are a president, then innovation agreement is brought before you. That there are some basic questions that you have to ask. In the first deal that they said was allegedly inflated by an amount of $150
million,
there was a Price Waterhouse report on value for money that had cleared it. They were not satisfied. And this second report, there was no value for money audit. So it should put you on notice. In the first report, there was a letter from the PURC saying that the tariff arrangement under the agreement was acceptable to the PURC. In the second one, there was nothing like that. In the first arrangement, there was a letter from the Ministry of Finance saying that, yes, the impact on the consolidated fund and government of Ghana's commitment to ensuring payment at stated times within the agreement would be adhered to. Ghana government gave a letter of comfort. In the second agreement, in the renegotiated agreement, there was nothing like this. So all these were pointers to the president that more had to be done to satisfy him that he could get executive approval. And you know, executive approval imposes a higher responsibility on the president than a deliberation taken before the entire cabinet and a decision arrived at. Okay? And so that's why I think that when you look at the circumstances of this case, you cannot but help. I mean, say that Ajaku was sacrificed to save the situation. There are many more people involved. Okay, so even look at this agreement. The initial agreement was a BOOT.
Yeah.
It had run 2.5 years at the cost of $510 million. In the year 2020, the whole plant would be ours. Not would have become, would be ours.
Okay.
Okay. Provided we pay the amounts that are due and owing to the company. Now, so that was a 510 agreement. In the initial agreement, we were paying a capacity charge of 5.6 cents per kilowatt hour and buying the power at 14.7 14.7 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, after the 5 years, we will not be paying capacity charge because the plant will be ours. Now, and then the power will be reduced. The cost of power will be reduced from 14 to 10 cents, a little over 10 cents per kilowatt hour. Now, in this agreement, Multilenius, or that Greek company, Multilenius was to buy the liability, the assets and liability of the Ameri. Pay them their 300. And then the agreement will be extended for 15 years. And within the 15 years, Ghana government will be paying about $1.13 billion to them. Clearly, this was an arrangement that was intended to enrich certain people. I mean, you cannot understand. In that agreement, and they said cost of power had reduced by 30%. How can you fool Ghanaians this way? After 6 years, after 5 years, cost of power will reduce to a little over 10 cents per kilowatt hour. From the 7th to the 20th year. In this agreement that they had signed, the initial reduction from 14 cents per kilowatt hour will come down to about 11.6 cents per kilowatt hour in perpetuity. I mean, for the rest of the period. Now, if you do, not being a mass or quantitative expert, you will see that 11.6 over a period of 15 years will definitely accumulate more liability than 10 from 6 to 20. And so I believe that it was a very bad agreement. It was badly conceived, badly designed, badly delivered, and that led to this catastrophic outcome that we are seeing. I also believe that the president cannot absolve himself from responsibility. I mean, Article 58 is so clear. I don't know why everybody's talking about Chajaku. The power with which the agreement came to Parliament was an exercise in the executive authority of the state.
And it came under a certificate of urgency?
No.
It didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
That was the power. The executive authority by Article 58(1) is located centrally in the president.
Yeah.
In the president. Ajaku was exercising a delegated responsibility. That delegated responsibility does not absolve the president of that primary responsibility of ensuring that he acts to protect the public purse. And in any decision that he's taken, must be taken in the supreme interest of the people of this country. So people should stop deceiving us that it was Bachir Ajaku's act. It was the president's act.
So I mean, you say it was the president's act, but Bachir Ajaku also said that if the dust settled, he was going to come out or he was going to be heard.
I'm not surprised at all. You see, I have been a minister, a cabinet minister, senior cabinet minister. And I tell you that sometimes you just sympathize with such decisions ministers being held vicariously responsible for the actions of people who are otherwise more powerful or perceived more powerful than the minister. That's what happens. They come to you and you clear, oh, this person has come to me. So you call the president or you go and meet the president and say, look, this person has come to me. This is what that person is suggesting. The president might just tell you that, oh, I'm aware of it.
And then what is that supposed to mean?
That's supposed to mean that go ahead and deal with that fellow. But you see, that fellow is that faceless person. So Bachir Ajaku is the face of the president. Bachir Ajaku is seen to be acting. And Bachir Ajaku, in any decision that he will take, he will have to clear. And can tell you as a matter of fact, from practice and convention, that when the agreement was finished, the president saw it before it was submitted to his cabinet, secretary for almost submission to him. And the ministry of the presidency has thematic areas that it constitutes technical team to work on. Energy is very important. I mean, if the president does not have energy experts that he consults from time to time on the energy situation of this country, then we are in trouble. And if the president is minded or has been minded to constitute that committee, did the committee look at it? Did the committee look at that thing?
So the point you're driving at is that the agreement is so important that it couldn't have been left to Bachir Ajaku alone.
No, it cannot happen. It cannot happen. It cannot happen. It's not possible.
You are only speaking to convention and practice.
Oh yes,
that's all he's speaking to. He's not stating a matter of fact.
Yeah, convention and practice are very. He knows he's a lawyer. Convention and practice are very important.
But you are not stating a matter of fact.
No, I'm saying that it's not. I'm saying that
the point he's making is that he didn't tell you to say the things you are saying.
Well,
I'm not a lawyer, but he's speaking authoritatively because he said it's been there and he knows what happens around.
I'm just trying to reconstruct what happened. Okay. I'm not a member of the MPP, and I'm not an appointee of the MPP.
Yes.
What I can do is to reconstruct.
Oh yes, why not? It's
and that's what I'm trying to do.
Government because
yes, and I'm reconstructing what happens in government. I mean, you can't even just think that. Why would the Constitution say that there should be a cabinet in the whole Constitution, apart from regional ministers? The next category of ministers that are mentioned by name are cabinet ministers, because you can't rely on the wisdom
of one person. The president.
Yeah,
that's why you need a cabinet. And so I'm just reconstructing this to show you that, look, the president was between the devil and the deep blue sea, and he had to make a choice, and he chose to sacrifice a work. Then he has said he's done a reshuffle. I think we are going to come back to it.
Yes.
We'll come back to reshuffle.
Yes.
I'll have opportunity to say.
I mean, you have the last word on this matter.
Yeah. So Bachir Ajaku, what was his key strength? in the appointment, we are told that his key strength was the financial wizardry that he was bringing to the energy sector to deal with the legacy debts. That was his key. We were never told that he had any understanding of the technical details of power generation. We were told that, look, he knows how to fix it. He knows how to use instruments to deal with the debts. And we didn't doubt it because Boachi Ajaku's history is in the financial sector. And so we can assume that his expertise is there. And the president sacks him and sends a minister who, again, he went to Dundee and did energy economics. He has a master's degree in energy economics. And
that's Peter
Amewu. And 3 days after sacking Boachi Ajaku, who was sent there because
of his financial
the focus was to deal with the energy sector debt, is now being replaced by an energy sector economist, somebody who has done some little studies in the energy, the economics of energy, and confirmed 3 or 4 days after he was made acting. So then I began thinking, was it part of the grand plot?
You think too much.
Look here, welcome. Was it part of the grand plot that immediately after Boachi Ajaku was removed, who will succeed him?
No, but I mean, we are almost getting into the reshuffle. But the fact that there was a reshuffle.
This is happening. What reshuffle? There has not been any reshuffle.
The energy sector, the portfolio couldn't have been left vacant. But I'll come back to you on that. So, Franklin, last week and the weeks before, we said it was a bad deal. The Ameri deal wasn't good. It didn't make financial sense and all that. You didn't call for what is happening, really. But the president has decided to let Boachi Ajaku go. Civil society has been happy, and they've said that Boachi Ajaku should not be punished alone. I don't know if you are happy with what has happened and the fact that others haven't been touched yet.
Well, good morning to everybody. First of all, the president hasn't given any reasons.
No, his director of communications came out to say
that is because of the
Ameri deal. Yes, he said that to us on the
Well,
record.
if that's the case, then there's what I call a looming contortion of issues and facts. And for me, what surprises me is that in this whole Ameri debacle, renegotiation, we didn't do any proper economic analysis on the impact it was going to have on the economy. And you know, in very serious jurisdictions, you expect that deals of this nature would have had the, should I call it the power of convocation, a convocation of experts, basically, to do some serious analysis on the impact it was going to have on the economy in total. Which is why I'm tempted to believe that I don't think Boachi Ajaku is a singular person alone in this whole, if you like.
But at that level, the buck stopped with him.
Yeah, but that's the point. Yeah, but if you look at the narration of events leading to this dismissal, unless you are telling me that at the level of the presidency, there aren't what I call assessor generals of sorts, who should then have the capability. In fact, the economic management team usually would have been drawn upon, I mean, in terms of the expertise. If they didn't have it, you externalize that expertise. To look at this deal, are we suggesting that none of this was
But the deal, we understand, I mean, it was discussed, we understand, at the economic management team level the first time the week before. I mean, just last week or so.
And what do you have a report?
So we don't have a report. I mean, just to say that a lot had been done without the economic management team's, knowledge or consent.
But you just say that the economic management team might have had some input into it earlier.
That it happened before they deliberated upon it. If reports you're hearing are anything to go on.
What happened before they deliberated?
I mean, the deal was submitted or the executive approval was sought before the economic management team started to deliberate on the matter.
There's a comedy of errors, really. I mean, how would you expect that before the executive presidency gives an approval of a deal, which I would have thought had eagle eyes and eagle ears and eagle hands looking through every line. Don't forget that Novation Agreement is not a Bible. It's something you can read within an hour or two. When I got mine, when you guys got yours, I got mine almost immediately, and I read through. I would think that a deal of this nature, which has multi-million dollar implications, and if you like, the implications of our overall financial strength, would not just have been railroaded by a singular person. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, the executive presidency gives an approval of a deal without reading. Are there blind people at the place? And if you really have the president's back, granted the president may not read everything. It is important to make the point that the president may be obviously overwhelmed with a lot of other activities. So indeed, he may rely on the most immediate of persons, in this case including the energy minister, to say, look, this is what we've done and we think it is okay. And he gives approval. At least so we were told through the letters we saw. I'm just narrating to you probably an extension of the reconstruction Honorable Nusa is talking about. You know, this is very important because you see, during the Mahama administration, we kept saying that there must be the need to beef up the capabilities of cabinet with some expertise that may not be found within cabinet. In this instance, and especially when it comes to very serious deals that have financial implications for the country, right? I think, was it late Mills, who suggested that for certain types of deals over a certain threshold, certain sort of approvals must be sought, right? I mean, if we respected those kinds of, if they were even populist ideas, and if we respected the art of governance in terms of making sure there's due diligence, this matter ordinarily should not even create any confusion. In any case, at the point that it was seen that this deal was overblown in terms of the pricing, what happened? You probably just recall that deal, because I don't think anything has been signed apart from the executive order. Correct me, is the executive order necessarily a fait accompli? Is it?
No, in this case,
because it has to be
Parliament, because it's not an international agreement.
The executive order is almost fait accompli.
Oh yeah, but
in this case, the executive side, in
but
this
the point
case, because
is that
it was an international agreement, it had to go through Parliament.
Yeah, so
that also saved us.
International agreement, you have two institutions of state.
Yes.
Yes,
bringing it into.
But like every bill, the presidency or the executive actually proposes. I'm using the case of a
they
bill,
propose. Yes, that's it.
which means that they probably like the idea.
Yes.
But when it then comes to the next level, which is Parliament, that's where the real deliberations will happen. In spite of the conversations outside of Parliament, which some of us were having as well. So my point is, unless there are other extenuating circumstances leading to the sack, I really do not see how this eventually should lead to a sack. Because you recall the matter, you say, look, I don't think you guys may have heard this thing in the public, but I don't think that is the official position of the government. And so we are taking back it. And actually, through a state act, force the executive, the minister to come out publicly and say, well, look, I think we would have to wait for deliberations in Parliament. But even before then, I think we may want to revise these notes. I think this matter would have ended nicely. I don't understand. The president has the ultimate power to sack anybody. But truth be told, given the narration of events and what I at least understand to be the operative commonsensical arrangement in any cabinet or any presidency, I would think that this matter could have just ended by saying, of course, what's the point? We've had all sort of ministers come out to say, well, I didn't say this. I meant this. I meant that. The point about being misled, I don't know who used the word. Was it the president who used the word?
No, it was media reports.
It's media reports. Then again, it's a potpourri of confusion. Because the presidency hasn't said they were misled. So on what basis, really, is this gentleman asked? Is it because of perceived, and I don't dwell in gossips, is this because of the perceived issues of he peaking too early? Because these are other matters, political analysis that we may probably have to do. I'm not holding brief for anybody. I'm just looking at the narration of events and I'm asking myself, could this really have led to a sack? Given the fact that ultimately nothing has been signed. If you like, it's a mere suggestion, right? Of course, on the back of what happened with the Ameri 1, this must be looked into. But I'm not too sure that the reaction was equally well, if you like, calculated, especially when a committee was formed immediately after the NPP won power to go and talk to Ameri. I understand they danced and ate and even flown on Ameri's budget. Is that the case?
That's the case.
Okay. So maybe we started losing the plot from day one on that point. So no matter how you look at it, I think that, look, this matter goes beyond just a single individual, and there may be other circumstances leading to this particular sack. I'm a bit worried for the government, especially because Bacha Jacko, indeed, as one person at least I've known to be some sort of a policy wonk. I mean, I know for a fact, and it has nothing to do with my deliberations with him, but I knew that in leading up to the MPP's manifesto build, we had conversations about what the art of government should really look like. And I think it's a matter of deep thought. People make mistakes, I can understand that, but I really think that this sack is a big blow to the administration. That's not to say that there aren't men and women who can deliver, but I see him as one person who actually leaves the philosophy of the party and leaves the philosophy of prudent policy making. In this case, he floated an idea. Nothing has been signed, which makes me think that there are other deals that we all know, and I don't want to mention those.
All right, on that note,
I will mention
yes. Just save us. On that note, let me come to Sydney. Franklin is seeking to suggest that, that Ejako's exit from government certainly is a big blow. But it's not the first time we're seeing a minister, and it doesn't mean he cannot come back again to government. We've seen people like Nana Komia and Co. in the Kufuor government who were axed and came back later on to assume other roles. Last week you made certain points about the deal, the fact that it wasn't good, we shouldn't sign it. Are you happy about how things have panned out?
Yes, I am. Very, 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 very much so. Irrespective of how the NDC people want to peg this on Nanado and saying the ultimate responsibility is his, which is, it's a nice euphemism to use. Bottom line is he has a sector minister, and his sector minister has brought a deal to a table which has created a lot of hue and cry and doesn't seem right. What should he do? He should say, I'm resigning, and then leave Bache Jacko to sit there. It doesn't work that way.
No.
Okay? Where really is the problem in all of this? The minority in Parliament at committee level seems to me that they were never given an opportunity to examine this proposal. Is that right?
We were given. We raised the issue.
They indeed raised the issue.
At committee level?
At committee level.
On the floor?
On the floor. At committee level. And that's why a report was not taken.
It didn't come.
It came before the committee.
It didn't come to the floor.
It didn't come to the floor. No. At the committee level. That they raised the issue and asked that certain documents be presented. And that's how the matter was shelved.
The matter was shelved.
Yes.
So our systems are working. Because that's the way it's supposed to be. The sector minister and his people come up with an idea or something that needs to be done. It must go through committee for it to be discussed. when the committee has approved or disapproved, they make noise or they withdraw or they refuse to accent to the idea before it goes to the floor. So if that is what happened and they actually were able to halt this at committee level, then we have to say it's a good thing. And our democracy, at least, is working.
It's working.
Okay? The end result that has been achieved is a political decision.
Precisely.
The decision to remove Ejiaku is political. It has nothing to do with anything else. Because committee has spoken. Ministry of Finance didn't say anything, or at least they hadn't given their view.
Attorney General hadn't given her opinion.
View. And so it has been halted. So fine. And that's what it should be, so that we should be able to go to sleep as citizens and be rest assured that anything
that our institutions are working.
Our institutions will function. And that is a plus that we have.
Parliament is working.
That's the trouble.
But Parliament...
There's a history to this. So don't want them.
Okay, so whenever I criticize Parliament, then you are fighting me. So Parliament has worked this one time. Okay. Parliament always works. So maybe it will start working.
No, it will work more. See this.
Maybe it will work more.
It will work more. Because we want to get
some
better.
good results. But here's my problem, you see. In and amongst all this that is going on, I ask the question. We are spending so much money trying to solve the energy problem. All right? Yet, if you lift your head up to the sky, you will have to close your eyes because the sunlight is so bright. We have photovoltaic energy. Right there. We have so much of it that at the end of the day, government doesn't need to do anything than to put forward a policy, a written policy, that says that starting from the year 2018, 2019, 2020, whenever, all homes in this country should be powered with solar energy. And all that we need to do is to find some company that is into solar energy to come and partner with us to set up a solar energy assembly plant so we can produce solar cells from here.
Cheap.
If you look at our domestic situations and you think about how many people actually need so much power for their homes. I don't have air conditioning in my home. I use a fan.
Yeah,
and it works perfectly all right. Maybe I live on a hill.
But you live on the hill.
So I have a lot of
trees and nice places.
So I have a lot of breeze coming through.
Yeah.
But I'm not the only person in Ghana who lives on a hill. You live on a hill. Pokwasi, there's a hill there. And you get a lot of breeze. If you position a fan properly, you get good flow through.
It's true.
You won't die if you don't have a cool body. All right? But look at the majority of people using energy in this country, switching on a light and draining 240 volts at so much current in order just to be able to have one light or two lights or power on the television set, boil water in the morning. You don't need to have so many kilowatt hours to do that. 2 or 3 solar panels will do. I combine the energy I use with solar. And my solar panels are very simple. All they do is at night time, they give me a little light. Turn my TV on. Okay? My fridge works. If I turn my fridge off every night at 9 o'clock, I wake up in the morning, it's still cool. So you're saving a lot of energy just because you're using all of these things efficiently. And we have sunlight and solar voltaic energy. So why should any government come and sit there? And for 8 years, 16 years, nobody comes up with a clear-cut policy to harness solar. if you go into the rural communities, your best option is solar and wind energy.
Of great.
Didn't
we passed that? I'm surprised that you said that. We passed the renewable energy law.
You pass a law, and then what happens?
And so we have made a solar energy or renewable energy part of the energy mix of this country. And where if you go to VRA and even some private, power purchase agreement that we entered with investors to set up solar panels for energy.
And for 8 years, you couldn't set one up.
Well, it doesn't take 2 days to do it. So
how long does it take?
It doesn't take. I'm saying that for now, if you go to Navrongo, you see a plant generating 2 megawatts. Yes,
2 megawatts. It is generating 2 megawatts.
Yes.
2 megawatts does not even a village run.
2 megawatts.
It doesn't run a village.
Which village? It depends on the village that you're talking about.
Bongo.
Bongo, you think it's a village?
How many people are there in Bongo?
Have you been?
Have you been?
Let me get a concluding remark on this.
Oh, but have I lied?
No, I was
forcing you to
reroute.
I think Sydney has taken us into a completely different.
Yes. Sydney has already does it. So
I'm saying
he's advising
to the point. You see, end of the day,
so if you can quickly conclude,
we argue and debate and we create mischief in the wrong arena. That's my opinion. This is not about Wache Jaku. It is not about the dismissal of our energy minister. All right? What it is about how we use our resources to be able to get this economy to be a lot more efficient, and we have energy and resource to do other things else.
But see, is it mutually inconsistent? Is it mutually inconsistent with holding public officers accountable? Is it what you are saying? Is it mutually inconsistent?
But if
and that when the public officer does something with our resources and we hold him responsible, we are shifting the debate. Is that what you are suggesting?
Yes, if you are.
No,
if you're focusing your time, if you're focusing your time in arguments,
he has to use the word landed on this matter, but he's saying that we could have saved ourselves a lot of trouble if we're looking in other directions.
But yes, it's true, but it's not mutually inconsistent.
I think you've landed quite well. So let me come to
you. He has crash landed.
I'll give another bite at this.
I want to just gauge the runway.
No, just hold it there.
It's actually never taken off.
It was taxi.
No, you have to be careful because we might run out of runway.
I think we can come back to this as a separate topic.
So you can get.
You see, what I'm saying is,
yes,
you should not continuously focus on when cataclysmic events happen. When you look back, all right, technology has so improved and so become efficient that we can do what we are doing now for 1/10, if not less, of the price.
And so when there's an attempt to do it more than 1/10 the price,
I want us to get to the discussion of the reshuffle.
And we are harping on possibilities of other persons being involved to chop people's necks and because somebody has gone and done something that we think is untoward.
They didn't do solar.
Make any sense.
They didn't do solar.
So, Honorable Jack, you have the final word on this. I'm putting everything together. You are in government. You think this makes your government look good or not? I mean, just
why are we eating cold bull fruit anyway?
There's really too much sugar in that.
My concluding word on
this is sugar. They say the sugar in it.
There's sugar in it.
Too much sugar.
Well, you need energy.
Let's face it. The NDC will try to make political capital of this.
Yes.
I would say that I like something Sydney said. At the end of the day, it's a political decision.
Emmanuel, you like everything I say.
It's not everything you say. It's not everything you say that I like. But I think I have tried to say the same thing. It is a political decision the president had to make. There is actually, really and truly, what is there? It is an initial agreement that had gone to Parliament to be looked at. The matter is actually still before Parliament. I am not aware it has been withdrawn. It will be withdrawn.
Yes,
that is what the
Parliament on recess. So yes.
Yeah, that is what will happen. Anything can happen. It can be re-looked. Some adjustment can be made, or a decision will be made that we stick to the old one. All of this is something that is in the bosom of His Excellency. The President needed to make a decision, and a decision had been made. Going forward, I think it must be lessons to all of us. But what is important, and I want to reiterate, is that, like the president said, he's done this in the interests of this nation, in the interest of the people who pay for electricity, and in the interest of his government. I mean, so should the president fall down and watch us stand? No, it's not possible. So it is fine. I think that we must admit that the good people of this country were not happy with what was happening.
And the president has spoken.
Yes.
Very well.
So, how do you know?
Awudiye Bernard tweets and says, Salam, the falling of the yellow leaves is a warning to the green ones. Greetings to my customer, Fred Jabano. Hashtag the big issue. Fred Jabano is my producer. And so you can also join the discussion with your comments on Facebook and Twitter. The hashtag is the big issue. On WhatsApp, we are on 05499869996. Let's get to the substantive matter of the reshuffle. And I'll start with you, Honorable Inusa. The reshuffle is happening, much anticipated. It's come. Was this what you were expecting?
No.
What were you expecting?
Because it lacks any strategic direction. What was it intended to achieve? It's just a game of musical chairs.
Oh, Chico Jaba has gone to Italy.
Yeah. So that's it. So one chair is removed, and so the others will have to struggle to sit. So it's a game of musical chairs. I mean, a gap was created by the sacking of Bachajako, and you had to move.
You used the word it lacked was strategic
focus. What was it intended to achieve? Now, Ghanaians have said that the size of government is huge, that some ministries ought not to be created. The president, they have said it since last year, about a year and a half ago, and they've continuously said so. And so people realistically, legitimately, and reasonably expected that the president will listen to their call and reduce the number of ministers and also collapse some ministries. Then what do we see? Impunity at its highest.
These are
impunity means what?
These are NDC people or MPP people.
Civil society. Which one? Including Occupy Ghana.
Imani.
Have you complained about the size?
Yes.
Oh, no, I mean, almost everybody did it.
About the size. When it was initially done.
The first one. If you need 110 because of what, then you need a battalion.
Yes. And I think he had a story, a philosopher saying, China. Is a Russian philosopher who said, if you need more hands to do it, then you might as well use a spoon.
I'll tell you when it gets to my thing.
So what have we seen?
No, but you see, I mean, this is the first time the president is seeing them. And now maybe others have strengths in certain areas. The president thinks.
Okay, let's look at the ministers. I don't want us to be conjecturing. Yeah. Let's look at the ministers.
So Mustafa Hamid, for example,
moved Mustafa Hamid. After the Mustafa Hamid to
Zongo development.
I don't know what has happened. I really sympathize with him.
Why? It's strategic development.
Because I mean, he thinks that
first of all, Mustafa Hamid was a cabinet minister.
But he's a Zongo boy at all.
No, but he's still a cabinet minister.
Well, Minister of Zongo Affairs is not a cabinet minister.
No.
Who decides?
The president who decides who is cabinet.
Who decides? The president decides that.
No one is allowed to talk off the cap of his head.
Why?
Because you must found whatever thing you are going to say on what the president has done and what the law says.
I've heard Mustafa Hamid say,
look, the president has submitted a list of cabinet ministers to parliament.
And that's sacrosanct. That can be reviewed.
Why?
Parliament is not in session.
Until that is reviewed.
Parliament is not in session.
Until that is reviewed, what do we have to hold on to?
Oh, okay. So the old one.
Why do you want to talk and divert issues?
Who's diverting issues?
So Boniface was a cabinet minister. You are saying that Boniface was a cabinet minister?
He wasn't.
So please. And cabinet ministry is not attached to a person. It's not attached to a person. It's attached to a ministry.
The ministry.
So what are you talking about?
But the Ministry of Zongo.
Stop diverting me.
Part of
are you saying Hamid will not do a good job at Zongo? He's a Zongo boy.
He's just being mischievous, that's all.
I mean,
Haruna,
Inusa, yes.
Wasn't Inusa who went and said that you should close all the boarding schools now?
I said it should deport us.
That's a different matter when it comes to if you are
I said it should deport us. Yes. And if you want to engage,
don't be drunk by just focus on me. Yes.
That is off the cuff, not measured. He just said it.
No, not off the cuff.
No,
I've been a teacher.
I think you should allow him to.
Sydney.
It's not off the cuff.
So finish.
Yes, it's based on research. But
you're also boiling it. All right.
So Mustafa Hamid, you have the Minister of Information, very key.
Is the Minister of Information part of cabinet?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. And then you promote his deputy over him.
No.
He promotes it over him because
he hasn't
deputy will not
promoted
be
him
in
over him.
cabinet. Ministry.
Who is the next minister who has been promoted? Who is the next deputy?
Kojo Nkrumah is now Minister for Information. Hamid is now Minister for Zongo.
Let me do my.
It's getting to a point.
You see, until you finish drinking the coffee to recharge you, let me do mine.
He needs energy.
He needs energy.
Well, next time, can we please have Sobolo? I don't know what I'm doing with this.
So you see, you are promoted, and I'm not saying that Kojo Nkrumah is not good. It's good.
Yes.
I know. I think that the promotion is good.
It's great, yeah.
But I fail to see why you should demote Mustafa.
Mustafa has not been demoted. He's still a minister.
Your demotion is in respect of the fact that, as we speak, the role is not a cabinet role.
Yeah.
Yes. So
but the man said the man is happy. The
man is happy.
Yeah, he said
he's happy that you have been demoted.
No, he didn't say that.
Doctor, happy that you have been demoted.
No, he's happy about a new role.
Well,
he has a more effective role to play in Zongo. He will be
leading the prayers.
But it's a shake.
We pray in the Zongos.
No. So
we need to change. We need to change.
I don't like
the
this.
Zongo community.
No, wait. So just quickly.
So what Inusa is trying to say is that information is bigger and better than Zongo.
I say that by the natural order of events in governance, a Ministry of Information is a cabinet ministerial position. A Ministry of Zongo, is not cabinet. That's what I'm saying.
For now.
Okay, maybe for now. Yeah. But I say, Emmanuel Ajako seems to know that the president will review the list.
I'm not saying that, but you see, I don't like you to present it as if it is sacrosanct. It can change.
But he's making a legal point.
Yes, legally.
For now, that hasn't been changed. So that's what happens. But if you were to call a cabinet meeting,
he's politically posturing
by saying that. The point he's making is that if you were to call a cabinet meeting next week,
a cabinet position is more important than any other position. It's not right.
It's right.
It's not.
It's the constitution.
But the cabinet is the country.
It's the constitution. You see, I don't want to, Sydney. It's not about your own personal idiosyncrasies. It's the law. It's the law.
Right,
the law. That's the law.
Right. I think we are distracting him, and I think we should allow him.
We should distract him because where he's taking the whole thing.
I think now that you have
solar energy.
I think you have a superior argument. Don't leave him.
So you took us to solar energy.
My argument is better.
I said you may have a superior argument. Let him finish.
All right. So you said
no. Okay. So thank you for saving me. Protecting me.
You better stay on the street and narrow before I go and bring your whole statement on the road.
Okay. The second thing is, you see, Zongo ministry. So the Zongo minister has been moved. Okay. And you know where he has been
sent to? The office of the vice president.
To the office of the vice president. Minister of State in the office of the vice president.
So it's a promotion.
Is it in the constitution?
No, but not all ministerial roles are in the constitution.
You don't create a minister of state. It's the president who creates the minister of state in his office.
So in this case, the president has created a role and assigned him to the office of the vice president.
So that's what should have happened. So you should have been a minister of state at the office of the president.
Yeah, but the vice presidency is part of
the president. No, yes. So there's nothing like office of the vice president. You need to understand where I'm coming from.
Maybe it's a
no. We don't want maybe contextually it's not something I'm entertaining today.
There's an office of the vice president.
I want us to speak on the basis of the constitution that is governing this country. And I'm saying that the vice president has no appointive powers. In fact, the vice president has no responsibilities except those given him by the constitution or assigned him by the president.
And the president has assigned a minister to his office.
That's a function.
Huh?
Assigning a minister to the vice president office is the function.
There are roles certainly which will require the eyes
I'm
of
saying
a
that,
minister of state.
So you now send the minister of state in charge of inner city and Zango to the office of the vice president. And then in the same reshuffle list that you presented, you made some ministers of state. You send some ministers of state to the office of the president. It is only Boniface who is sent to the office of the vice president. That's discrimination and offense Article 90 of the Constitution.
Oh.
Now, thirdly, let me make my point. Why do you treating him differently?
Maybe.
But it's serving at the presidency.
Differently. You are a lawyer. Look at
it's serving at the presidency. Yes. And that's what is important.
It's not serving at the presidency.
It's not the vice president. It's at the presidency.
Don't write words into the thing that we read. We all read it.
Okay.
You think that I read it?
Maybe the presidency is full. And so
they said
the national overflow is the vice president's office.
Yeah. The vice president's office is at the presidency.
And in any case, there must be a specific role.
I think you should. I don't like this interjection.
Okay. But you know this is the way the show goes.
So when we moved Elvis Free from GFA to the president's office,
sports ministry,
was that a promotion?
You move him to the office. I'm not saying that it was a promotion. I'm saying that you move him to the office of the president.
Yes. And assign him.
And assign him to the.
So that is what you're interjecting.
And assign him.
That's what has been done.
But you don't move him.
But it has been done seamlessly.
So straight to the office.
It's seamless. Yeah,
okay,
it's
straight to the office. So I'm saying that Boniface, if I were Boniface, I would resign.
Oh, come on.
Because there's nothing like that. Then you have Atiku Jaba. You have Atiku Jaba.
Yes.
Now you say Italy is so good. Atiku Jaba. You say Italy is so good that you want Atiku Jaba to leave the gender
ministry
and go to Italy as an ambassador designate.
Yes.
In the same communique that you release, you bring back the Italian ambassador,
the Ghana ambassador
to Italy,
to
be a minister of Upper East Region.
Yes. But is there anything wrong with that?
That's geographical move.
It's a geopolitical.
No,
so what have you done to
strategy?
No, maybe Atiku has expertise required in Italy.
In Italy,
yes.
Or that the woman doesn't have. Then you have. What's the name of that man?
Which one?
Nevrongo MP.
You are Kofiada.
Yeah.
You give him places with aviation minister.
You give him sanitation and
to aviation,
water resources.
Water resources.
Yes.
And you move him to
aviation.
Yes. And you know what we are hearing? Because he was quarreling with his deputies.
But
I seem to say that it is only Kofiada who quarrels with his deputies.
No, but what was the point?
No. I don't think you should allow this comment.
Wait. What's the point? What's the point?
Where did you hear it?
You just said that you are not giving in to gossips and conjectures today. And that's only what you're doing.
This is like a blue cap stock. We are hearing. Where did you hear it?
Have you
heard anything like this?
The only thing I heard was that because Kofiada couldn't sort matters on the ground, they were sorting him. He was going to sort matters out in the air.
Because yes. I also heard that because sanitation is so big, he cannot be a baller man, so he must go and manage the airports.
So
now I'm not finished.
He has to see the ground from the air. So he will be brought back to sanitation.
And then all of you are just being mysterious.
And you see,
speaking about aviation, you should go to land.
So you see Pius Haji, who was then suspended for some time after the Australian scandal and brought back.
And later cleared, yes.
Cleared and brought back.
Okay, brought back.
And you say that
but he was cleared.
He was cleared, so he was brought back.
He was cleared.
At the MPP Congress.
But there was a process behind the scenes. So the announcement was only made at the MPP conference.
Pius was sent back to his ministry was at the MPP
because
congress.
That's what the announcement was made.
And when the president was saying that, he said that because he had been cleared.
Okay, so he said that. Okay, so
he said it categorically.
Okay, so what is the strategy? And then what's the strategic misdirection?
Yes. Then strategic misdirection is that, whereas you are saying that there's a problem between Ada and his deputies, and so you have to move him.
No, we don't know that. That's what you are saying. That's what you are saying.
Pius and Esiama
are getting on very well.
I'm not getting on so very well. And so the person to move,
and we don't know that.
The person to move is Pius.
Assuming without admitting it is
that's why I don't see the strategic.
It just means.
I'm not being mischievous. Actually, I've.
All right, so I want you to eat the buffalo, and I'll come back to you on another.
So, but you think that was a reshuffle?
What is it?
That was a movement of people. Then we're not just feeling that.
So what was a reshuffle?
You have Chirame move from Brown Harbour region, and you see, in moving, he says, "Oh, his first statement: the Galamseyers must be put on notice because I'm going to continue the work that Ameri was doing. So, from Brown Harbour region, you are coming to continue Galamsey, the fight against Galamsey." I thought that he should have been more focused as a lawyer than what he said. And then Ameri says, "Oh, my focus is to make energy power affordable to the people." You should go and consult with Kendapa. He brought the issue of affordability first into the political lexicon. Well, so
reshuffle. I want what's somebody should look for. Somebody should look for.
So what reshuffle is?
Yeah.
Let me go to the game of musical chairs. You see the meaning of reshuffle.
Which one is that dance we have up in one of the?
It's musical chairs.
Musical chairs.
No. Musical chairs is a Western thing. We have. Is it
the one they do there?
Is it Dambai or Takai that we have?
Oh, that one we don't move. We just dance.
Which one is it that we do and they swirl around and then they click the sticks and then they turn around? It's Takai.
Yes. No, Takai, you don't move. Nobody. You don't lose a person. Musical chairs is the chairs must not be up to the number, so one person must go.
All right. So frankly, you've seen the list. You think the movements have been bold enough?
Boldness.
First of all,
let me eat both fruit.
Is that all? Isn't there supposed to be another list?
I don't know. We don't know.
Okay, we can't tell because I want to believe there will be another list.
Because you're expecting some names which didn't appear in this,
you
right?
shouldn't bait me. But frankly, I mean, I think that we need another list. And I want to believe there's another list on the
Another list which should contain what? These are 15 people.
Well,
15
which should contain a lot more movement around.
110 is just a little over 10%.
Yeah.
So he needs more.
Yeah.
What are you expecting? What were you expecting in this? That is not here.
See, look. Let's face facts.
Franklin is lost for words.
Most of the president's promises, in terms of the party's promises, are in abeyance. It may be too early to say so, but it's just about 16 months to the election. One district, one factory. I don't know where we are now.
You haven't been reading the papers.
Oh, the only thing I heard is Osafo Mafo
They just commissioned the puree, tomato puree factory
at the Suchari.
At the Suchari.
No, that thing I understand it was started long before.
But all the projects that have committed were started when Nkrumah was in Guinea.
No, I'm just saying that the rapidity with which these things were expected and are expected. My thinking is that quite a number of the promises are still in the embryonic stages. Given the gusto with which they were made, I would have thought that injecting some exceedingly fresh, making sure that the sense of urgency is injected into the whole system of governance. I mean, the whole governmental system, to hurry up these things. For me, I've not seen it yet. That's why I'm saying that it looks to me there might be another list. Because I still think that what has been done, frankly, the the gender ministry, in any case, what goes on there mostly is, sharing money,
taking care of the vulnerable in society, women,
which
children,
is why the new minister is saying that her focus is going to be adopting street children. I don't know whether that's the direction. When I heard the house,
but if she said she wants to pay a bit more attention to streetism, it is not bad.
Oh, no, I'm not saying it's bad, but I don't see. But Otiko was doing similar. Otiko was actually on the verge of castigating people who were
begging,
even begging.
I thought adopting children and taking them off the streets is a church responsibility, is it not?
No, it's a state responsibility.
So when I heard that the first strategic move essentially would be adopting children, there's nothing wrong with that per se, but I thought that strategically, then what has changed? Maybe Otiko was better sitting at that same place doing what she's doing.
But you don't.
You know, when we hear, and again, the president doesn't need to give reasons, as we are told. It's only in this part of our world that when presidents do things, they don't give reasons. I don't know why the Constitution says so. I never understand. But don't forget, the president broke those rules in a way, in a positive way, when he was appointing these persons. Everybody he seemed to know. He said, oh, I think this person's expertise is this, A, B, C, D, and all of that. And that was useful.
But frankly, it's a good thing for Otiko to be moved, isn't it? Because Bugri and Abu is no longer there. So they can't carry on fighting.
Bugri, the guy, they fight. They say the man's got.
There wasn't she fighting with Bugri and Abu?
So you
see, I want to believe there's more to the list than the current list. But it's interesting. The person was moved from where? Italy to Upper East.
Upper East,
yes.
He wanted to be close at home. Is he a he or
maybe they think that she's required. I mean, she has something that the region needs. That is fine.
And the old man is brought to Accra.
So there's more, I believe, to the list. This is just like they say, comedies. You know, usually when you want to start so when we're young, when you go and watch films, they start with comedies. I know it's called comedy. So I want to believe there's more.
This is the comedy.
This particular list, I really, if I were media called me, I had little to say. Yeah, because I don't know.
He's a diplomat. This man is a diplomat.
So we will take a quick break, but before that, let me do some messages. This one says, I'm Ibrahim Atubiga from Garu. With regards to the removal of Mr. Jaco from office, it was made purposely for the country's interest, in the sense that Mr. President didn't get to know much about the Ameri deal, which was to be renewed by Mr. Jaco. To me, Mr. Jaco is removed from office not because of the renewal of the Ameri deal. There might be some controversy between Mr. Jaco and the president. This one, Philip Mensah of Awoshi, Anya, says, hi, Salom, regards to your guest. Please, is this not the same Mr. Jaco who had issues at his vetting? Well, he said it's just a question. Yes. So the sacking of the energy minister is in the right direction. But the question is Mr. Jaco one of the men the president was talking about? This is from Bernard. This other one from Ahmed Salim Bongo from Medina says, my instinct tells me Mr. Boache Jaco is not a bad man. I believe he has limited knowledge on the energy or on the matter. He was misled by experts, and he also misled the president. That's an interesting one. Kwesi Reynolds from Agona Odobin says the president must be commended for being responsive to the cry of the majority of Ghanaians and thereby safeguarding the image of the presidency. It is quite unfortunate that the valiant and the hardworking Mr. Ejaku's head had to be on the chopping board. Apparently, this albatross, which is knocking heads, wouldn't have had a field day if deeper thought processes had gone into it under the NDC. The last one, Achu from Awoshi says, good morning, Seloma. I can see disappointment clearly written on the face of Mr. Emmanuel Jaco. But to avoid the wrath of his party members, his answers to your questions go with the saying which says, a soft answer turns away wrath. But he should remember blood is thicker than water. All right, so we will return, pick Sidney Kislefor's view on the reshuffle, then have the MP, Mr. Jaco, say his views about it as well. Don't go away. Your comments are still welcome. We'll be right back.
interviews, poetry, and more with your favorite personalities. Be our guest on Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. for the most exciting moments on TV. Join Kojo Akoto Boateng for real entertainment right in your living room. Saturday Live on City TV and City 97.3 FM.
Wherever the weekend sporting action happened, we will bring it to you here on Scorecard. Every goal, every dunk, every punch, the winning strides, and the winning volleys.
International media, he said, look, wait, sit and wait. Let me have a meal with my people. And I think that's the same cool, it's the same organization he brings to the field every time I've seen him play. He looks to me like somebody who has played over 50 caps already. Okay. But this guy has barely played over 25 caps for the national team.
All of the weekend's action in one place. Scorecard, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. prompt on CTTV. For regular news checks as they unfold, 2020 news, all day, all the time. Politics, sports, entertainment, business, and more. 2020 news. We bring you the world in 20 minutes.
And that's all the news in 20 minutes.
Yeah, welcome back to the big issue. We are live from our studios at number 11, Dr. Martin Lupin at Dabraka in Accra. We are on City TV and 97.3 City FM. My guest this morning, Honorable Emmanuel Ejakun, MP for Ayaso West Wogon, Honorable Inus Afuseni, MP for Tamale Central, Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa, and Sydney Kisley-Hayford, financial analyst and a member of Occupy Ghana. We have been looking at the matter of the Ejaku dismissal or removal from office, and then we connected it to the reshuffle which came soon after. And my panelists have been speaking on the matter. We'll go to Sydney Kisley-Hayford now on his take on it. Sydney, Mr. Amewu, one of the very active ministers, indeed, he took office, and just around that time, the campaign on Galamsey, anti-Galamsey, kicked in. And so for some reason, he has been very focused on the Galamsey thing, thanks to City FM and a few other people. So he's been on the beat, and he appears to be wrapping his hand and mind around it quite well. Now this thing happens, Ejaku leaves, and the president sees in him a worthy replacement. And many have said that apart from Mr. Ejaku's, apart from Peter Mewu's movement to the energy ministry, the reshuffle itself lacks verve.
Point of order.
Oh, no, but this is my question.
Why you?
So I'll come to you. All right, Sydney.
Okay.
No, let him have
you answer the question.
No, I don't have anything to say.
He said he agrees with you.
No,
you are saying that people are saying.
Of course, I listen to people. Really? When I get the people, I put it to them. So
I'll leave you.
No, Emmanuel, as for this one, you have to leave, because that is his job. Media, they have to listen to people.
All right, I will come. I'll have opportunity.
Certainly. I mean,
I don't know.
You say you had nothing to say.
I don't know Peter Amewu.
Okay.
Really?
I've never met him before. I never heard of him. I didn't know where he was coming from.
He's a good man. He succeeded you. I mean, at some point, like, of course, you had that ministry.
He's a good man. He's a good man.
And I
like
you left some gadgets in the office.
Yes,
I hear you left some gadgets in the office.
Oh no, that one I don't like to talk about it, because that was a matter that I've regretted ever since.
Yeah.
Okay, very well.
Yes.
All right.
Well, I mean, he has been able to do in 1.5 years what Inusa couldn't do in 8 years. Or was it 4 years you were at?
Man, you have started the process.
And now put in all the mechanisms that he's using today to fight galamsey.
Including a discussion on drones.
Yes, I started everything.
Oh, okay. So he's worth something. He has done something. The rest of the reshuffles and the movements and the and everything else, the postponements. If I should even concern myself with any of that, it would be moving Hamid to Zongo and putting Kojo Pong at the head of the Ministry of Information. The rest of it, in all sincerity, as far as I'm concerned, is not important. I mean, all that movement and stuff like that is just decorative stuff. Would I do it that way if
you were president?
Was president? Yes, I would, because it has taken the heat off the crisis at the Energy Ministry to some extent, and that's a politically strategic move, you know. So even though Inusa might say that he doesn't see the strategic direction, there is a huge strategic move there. All right. End of the day, you want to cool down the tempo, and let people
and get them refocused.
Yeah, let people simmer down a little in the country, and I think it has been very successful. It has worked. So, as to the importance of key positions and whether appointed persons will bring any major change, I don't think Kojo Pong Nkrumah is going to make any major development changes in the Ministry of Information. I think he will carry on performing just as he has, maybe a little less visible because his own deputies will now do more of the public engagements. Amewu, whether he will actually make any changes or improvements at the Energy Ministry, I will just bring you back to my original comment. As far as I'm concerned, any energy policy, any energy program in this country that doesn't develop wind and solar energy big time, and I'm not talking about petty stuff, we're talking big time changes, all right? In order for us to really know that we are as close to the equator as possible, we have adequate sunshine and photovoltaic energy to do what is necessary, and we, as a country, if you want to put it this way, Ghana should be one of the leading developers
of solar energy.
Solar energy. Scientifically, energy, we should be able to do it and become a big exporter of solar energy in this country. We have Sierra Leone is waiting for it. Liberia is waiting for it. Nigeria is begging for it. And there's no reason why we should still continue doing what we are doing with the fossil fuels and gas. So we have a lot to do. We have a lot to develop. And I think that we should in many ways stop dragging ourselves back with unnecessary discussions and focus.
Yes. What does this movement, I mean, Kofi Addo's movement from sanitation to aviation, say about the president's vision to see Accra as the cleanest in Africa? What does it say about that vision and about Addo's performance in that ministry?
Again, it then boils down again to the assessment of the person who is now there, and whether given the same amount of resource, that person can do something different. I think Kofi Addo and Cecilia Dapa is just a swap, right?
Yeah, it's a swap. A lot of them actually were just swaps.
It's just swap. You see, here again, I say this. I am not a big fan of within-country aviation development. I think Ghana is too small for us to worry about flying from Accra to Kumasi and Accra to Tamale. We're too small. What I would do is to rather develop my rail network. If I put in a couple of bullet trains between Accra and key cities. So I can get to Tamale, maybe not within 45 minutes, but I can get to Tamale in an hour or an hour and a half. I don't think I've lost too much time if I do that. Internal aviation flight is too short. Accra to Ho, to fly from Accra to Ho, when I can drive there in 3 hours, flying there will take me less than 30 minutes or 20 minutes. It's not necessary. If I put a train, a good fast train service on there, I can do it in 30 minutes or 45 minutes. And it's good enough time to sit on the train and eat a plate of
wachi
or else banku and obonu. Something which is us. This is what we are. All right? We are not the type of fast moving, fast action, let's get to a place quickly to do things. Ghanaians, we take our time.
Hey.
All right?
You haven't heard the cable over the sea.
And you see, we have to start looking at our lifestyles and start coming up with solutions that will enable us to continue to set an example to the world of what Ghana truly is. And I think that we are misfocusing a lot of the time. So I want to see a good rail network. If I can get to Kumasi in an hour from Accra, it's fine. All right? In 1 hour, I can sit down, have a long leisurely chat with people, and arrive in Kumasi completely relaxed for the day's business. It means I can also go to Kumasi, do my work, have a meeting, and come back.
So you're saying that the focus on the aviation ministry, I mean, it's misplaced?
Yeah, of course. We were talking about aviation.
Yes, and you veered off to rail.
I don't think we should have an aviation ministry.
But we want to get a national career. And for example...
who wants a national career?
Ghanaians have said so. And,
we need a national career.
It.
We need a national career to go out of Accra.
Exactly.
Into West Africa.
And you need, maybe in the wisdom of the president, we need a whole ministry. We need a ministry to work it out. So that's exactly what Cecilia Dapa has been trying to do. The former minister of transport, Jifativo, who started some good work in that area.
Again, this is the problem. You don't need government in the state to own a career. You need private sector to get involved in it and make it work.
Because maybe it's an important area, the president feels he needs a point person there to create that environment for private sector to thrive in respect of maybe facilitating or supporting the national career. It doesn't mean the government must or the state must own it at all costs. You can have private participation.
What Sydney is saying is that in Ethiopia, which has many more careers, they don't have a ministry of aviation. They have an aviation civil authority, which falls under the Ministry of Transport and Communications. See how they combine transport and communication. I'm just adding up.
Okay. Because I don't remember talking about Ethiopia.
No, I'm just giving you an example.
Just buttressing your point.
Yeah, I'm just buttressing your point.
I think that.
But Sydney has a point. You see,
I think there are good examples. Yeah, Inusa, please help me.
You have a point in the railways. I've always, and that's what I was talking to the railway minister. For us as a country, we spend a lot of money even on road maintenance.
Yes. We don't need it.
We carry a lot of goods on our roads.
Yeah. But have you calculated the amount of cartage on the rail?
Yeah.
At least for interconnection.
Well, it's well known internationally that a rail system, a properly working good rail system, is far more beneficial for the economy than it is to have all these expensive roads networking up and down. Not only that.
You don't think compared to rail in Ghana right now, water transport is probably cheaper?
No, water transport is the cheapest.
I was going to say.
It's the cheapest, then followed by rail.
If we have a whole lake that spans north to south, and we're not using it, because all you have to do is to burn energy going up. When you are coming down, you turn the engine off and you coast, because the water is running from north to south.
So there's even a study by the UN for an intermodal transport system.
Yeah. Yes.
From Tema to Akosombo. And to Yape.
Yes.
And then by rail to the north.
Yeah. And all those things, you see, this is why for me, when we are talking about this issue, as interesting as it is for the public, because it has become a big public issue, and the public is not, when you start talking about what we are talking about, intermodal transport and water lake development, the public is not interested.
They're not.
See, all they want is do the thing and tell me, hey, Nansei, what to me for Akosomboa, what to me go straight or no Ako drew a Bulebam boy.
Yeah.
That is what they want to hear.
All right.
So, our ministers, our politicians, as far as I'm concerned, sit up and let's get this thing going. The swap between Cecilia Dapa and Kofi Adda. Kofi Adda is a very good friend. I've known him for a very long time. But I don't think his 1.5 years in sanitation ministry has done anything of significance that I can go and see somewhere.
What do you do with 50 million? When you are giving
but I thought he was giving some 200 million.
He was mentioned that he would give it. He was giving 50 million.
I see. All right, so let me come
50 million, you can buy plenty shovels, though.
Okay, I hear.
Right. You can buy plenty shovels and distribute them.
All right, so
and clean the gutters.
Honorable Jacko is on the floor. All right, so, I mean, what does this say about the president's direction and focus or emphasis for the remainder of his tenure in this first term?
Very well. I think that in doing this, the number of ministers has been alluded to. When the president, in his wisdom, decided to appoint 110 ministers, all sorts of things were said. And I think the president was explicit that for him, the end would justify the means.
Is it Michelangelo?
I would want to say that for the things he set out to do, okay, for the promises he put out there in 2016 to the good people of this country to vote for him, by and large, a very good percentage of it has been accomplished, or it's in the works.
Like, apart from free SHS?
Apart from free
SHS.
Free SHS. I mean, I don't like anybody to say apart from. It is major.
Yes, so that's major. And a number of major things were said.
Yes.
So, free SHS, yes, at least we've seen that happen in the first year.
Yes.
And we have plans to continue.
Yes.
You know, we have this double intake discussion and all.
Yes.
So that is happening.
Yes.
What else? One village, one dam, 1 million per constituency.
Yes, it is happening. At least
you're waiting for the
they have the 1 million. Your constituency has a 1 million.
Yes, I don't know.
I've not gotten it.
Wait, but no, I say for a fact that you have the 1 million in your constituency.
I've not gotten it.
But it resides in the what's the name of the development authority,
special development ministry.
A few things are coming to my constituency. I won't sit here and be able to quantify, but at least something is happening in that area.
No, but if the 1 million is, you, the MP, you should know about it. You should know that, okay, 1 million is being given. Or that's not how it's supposed to work.
Especially since it's 1 million per constituency, not per district.
You know. So you should know whether it has come or not, and not to say...
To say that it has come, I will not be able to say that what they are doing in my constituency amounts to 1 million.
Mind you, the 1 million doesn't mean government is going to wash its hands off those areas. Government still has a responsibility to do what it has to do. The district assemblies have to do what they have to do.
Yes.
So if the 1 million has come, you should be one of the first persons to do.
But the 1 million is not fiscal cash.
It's not fiscal cash.
I think it's in projects.
It's projects. And they started the projects in my constituency. Okay. So he promised those things. Even in the energy sector, a few things have been done. Okay, stability of energy, affordability of energy, and all of those things have been achieved. So, my
answer to achieve stability of energy.
Yes,
but didn't the Doomsday stop?
When you were there, it was going
about 4 months before the election.
Stop before we.
It didn't stop.
Even so you tell me what have they done? What amount of power have they added to the power?
But you don't need to add power.
What do you have to do?
You need to add power.
What do you have to do?
We had enough power.
What do you have to do?
We just have to keep the lights on.
Okay, you keep the lights on.
Keep the lights on.
You need to add power. So we're putting the lights on.
You are putting the lights on.
So I think that in this one, how he would be marked, okay, is at the end of his first term.
Have you spoken about SHS?
Oh yes, I have.
That was the first thing he said.
At the end of his first term, you would have to sit and consider: did he achieve what he set out to do?
Absolutely.
People are here in this room around this table. We are talking about one district, one factory. Yes, I'm the first person to admit that we have not accomplished all that we had set out to do. But I am also aware, and I believe a lot of Ghanaians are aware, that these things don't just happen. It is work in progress. At least I can say from where I come from. Okay, I come from the lower Manyakrobo district, but in the upper Manyakrobo, I am following up for the businessman who is doing this. We are almost there. The man has gone to China. We have secured the land. He's going to procure the machines and all of this. I believe that in another week or so, the construction of the facility to take the machines will start. I will be extremely happy that at the end, when we are in 2020, we will be able to point that we have accomplished something. We may not be able to accomplish 216, but for me, if we accomplish a good fraction of it, after all, what are we looking
for?
A
good fraction will mean what?
Oh.
So I think at 216 now or 250 because the number of districts have been added.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. That is why it will be difficult for me to sit and say, if it was 250. Look, they say a journey of 1,000 miles begins.
But look, the NDC were going to build 200 schools.
Yes.
And they are not talking about the NDC. You're talking about the NDC and their promises.
Yes.
They built 12
and their promises. The NDC, so for that reason, together with others, the NDC was booted out because they failed to fulfill their promises.
Yes.
So the NDC shouldn't be a benchmark.
I
don't know why you are even talking about NDC.
So you build 12. How many?
So NDC never promised to do one district, one.
No, but you promised to build 200 senior high schools.
I'm saying that is
history. 4 years, and for the 4 years, all of us slept in that.
That is history.
Yeah,
that's history. But based on our experience,
you paid the price.
Well, you paid the price. Okay. Yeah. And based on our experience, we didn't promise one district, one factory.
Okay.
We have promised.
We didn't promise one million per constituency.
Yes, we have promised, and we are delivering on it.
I think the point is making.
I think the point really is that you promised so much, but you did little. You promised 200.
I think they managed about 10%. So if one district, one factory, the MPP manages 20 or 30%, it's good.
So let's go.
You know.
I think that I am saying this. I am saying this.
20% of the senior secondary schools.
How many?
20.
Yeah, I am saying this. That at the end of it is all in the context of the number of people who are helping the president to achieve this. The trees of
we're talking about the strategic nature of this movement.
All right. You need people to know this.
There's no strategy.
As for the question of how many, I think it should not come in here.
Oh, it should come in.
Currently, the president has no. You see,
it should come in.
Hold on.
Don't address him.
Franklin was. I think Franklin is. I don't want to use the word mischief. Franklin is something else must happen. This number. He's alluding to those things.
Franklin is
the list.
Franklin is bad. He's not mischievous. He's bad. But he's a bad man.
I believe that if the president has said, and until he brings up another thing, he believes that the 110 is what he needs to accomplish.
No, it's 111.
Given to him by
it's not 111,
which is a good number.
111. As to the list, I am here and I'm hearing Honorable Inusa Husseini speak of there is no strategic direction.
No, you have not heard from other panelists.
Is it him?
I have not heard from other panelists. They have not used the same words, but they have all said.
Is it his direction?
The president.
No, he is not the president of the republic.
You have a good friend.
What do you see? What do you know? What security briefing do you get?
What security briefing?
And what are you marking?
You can see a bad activity if you see one.
And what are you marking?
You are marking what you have seen.
Okay. The man who has the mandate has decided. that I will do some changes. I want to believe that he can't be flippant about this. There must be good reason. That reason may not be apparent to you and me. But you see,
it's not.
We can't run a government like that. That everything must be held in the position of the president.
Number one,
it may have good intention, but when I pan out, well, it's another matter.
Number one, he takes Ameri to energy. If my recollection is right,
I thought we have moved on.
If my recollection is right, I believe that last year or so, he was adjourned the best performing minister. So
not for energy.
In any case, yeah, but you see, after all, you don't need a specific whatever to be a minister. And when you are a minister, you are supposed to go there and give political direction. Okay. So you are this or you are that. It's neither here nor there.
If the person has,
I have heard him speak about Zongo. I think that for me it's I don't for not wanting to use very strong words. I think it's disingenuous for anybody to think, for instance, that the Zongo ministry or inner city development is not important.
No, it's the president who has done that. I'm not saying so. It's very important.
Yes. So if you move,
what the president has done has lessened its importance. That's what I'm saying.
Why?
No, by sending a strong person there.
By sending.
Oh, you think? I know Boniface. I know Mustafa.
It is your view.
So
it is your view.
Why?
It is your view.
But Mustafa is a sheikh.
Okay, so all of this is. Yeah. I am certain that the president has looked at the human resource he has and has decided that I will move Mustafa Hamid there. Issue about his cabinet. He's not cabinet. After all, who designates who is cabinet and who is
but that's a powerful constituency, so he may as well be building his political career as well. I'm just saying that Mustafa, that Zongo is a very powerful political constituency.
For me, look, so politically, one of the weak links, the biggest users of political tradition has been the Zongos. Yeah. So you think that if you have opportunity to be president, you will not do that which is needful to strengthen our relationship with. For me, I think it is one of the most strategic moves he made in creating that ministry. It is important for us politically, and it is important for the people who live there economically and socially.
No, it is important. Not important. We have not said so.
Okay, it is extremely important. So. As for the personnel, today you, Inusa, didn't you start as deputy minister for something, and eventually you moved to become a minister?
Yes.
So
Zongo.
Come on, what are you saying? You didn't. Your government didn't have a view. You always talked about the Zongos, but you never did anything for them. We spoke about it, and I've gone ahead.
We don't do anything about Zongos.
Okay. and we are talking about other moving from here to here. Again, I would want to focus a little bit about aviation.
What does the aviation ministry do?
That in the transport mix,
manages the airports.
In the transport mix,
that's an authority.
It is important to look at all of this. I am a huge proponent of rail development. Huge proponent.
They just built Terminal 3.
But there are some countries we know. There are some countries today. Dubai revolves around it becoming an aviation hub. I know people who go to America. Sometimes I ask, you want to go to America? Why do you go through Dubai? They have built an airline and they have built a certain infrastructure about it. Ethiopia. I think that Ethiopian Air and the airport has become one of the major contributors to the GDP
but they don't have an aviation ministry.
It is a choice they make.
They have a ministry.
It is a choice they make.
I understand you.
It is it's a choice they make.
We are only saying that ministry could actually be collapsed, especially when there's a civil aviation authority already, right?
It is a choice.
And then when there's minister for transport,
choice they make. For me, again, I will want to emphasize that at the end, when we have seen some progress, that progress must justify the decisions taken. What will hurt me is that you create a ministry and at the end of the day, there is nothing to show for it.
And that's
but
there are
the
a lot
important
of,
things.
But they have done well. Have they just completed Terminal 3 at Kotoka?
The ministry?
Yes.
It's happened well. But okay, so you do a Terminal 3. Look, all of us sitting here, know that one of the major problems we have traveling in West Africa, West and Central Africa, it is sometimes easier to go to Europe than to go to probably a place like Congo.
Malabo. Not sometimes, all the time.
Okay. It is so difficult to go to do a journey that will take you 3 hours. Sometimes you have to go all the way to France before you can come to. Can you imagine what will happen to this country if we are able to develop an aviation hub for West Africa? Our competition is Nigeria. Thankfully, they are not doing it well. Why don't we take advantage and build a good aviation hub? Look, can you imagine the number of jobs we can create out of all of this? We are not doing it. It is not coming up. I am hoping that this change will put some. It is something I think about every day. Railways, aviation. If we do this well, this country, peaceful country, we don't have, thankfully, we don't have some of the security challenges and threats that confront some of our neighbors here. It is not just aviation, but Ghana could easily become a major transportation hub for West Africa. And if a president, and I have heard, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo since 2008 has always said that what we needed was to transform or move away from the Gettysburgian economy that we have operated since 1928.
He said it recently.
And I want to believe that all of these things he's doing is just putting or trying to implement this. Again, I am the first person to admit that it doesn't take just one day. It takes a lot of planning. This railway thing.
What exactly was Mahama intending to do when the NDC was in power?
With what?
Was it Africa Renaissance or what?
But was it a Mahama thing?
I don't even know.
I thought it was a
You mean an airline?
I can only speak to.
an airline?
I can only speak to
Airline.
airline. So
philosophy, yes.
I don't know. All I want to say is that when the president
there's a palpable purpose for this. It wasn't just shuffling the guys around.
No, I don't think so.
Very well.
I don't think so.
All right. So this
because he sits at the top of it
and he sees.
He has the reports.
No.
How everybody
saw the purpose. The purpose was to shift attention from the catastrophic.
I don't think so. I disagree with you.
That's fair.
Hasn't the issue of me, the issue of a reshuffle has been in the air for in the last one.
And so this was an opportune time to
actually.
But now that
who has been promoting it? NDC people.
No.
And again, the president is the one with the man. If he feels there should be no reshuffle, there will be no reshuffle.
There will be no reshuffle. Yes. He has decided to reshuffle. In any case, he has moved a minister.
He should have reshuffled.
All right. Very well. This is 97.3 City FM, City TV as well. We are on Facebook Live. I must state that we'll take a break. Come back, and our friends listening to us on radio will have to get ready for the Premiership match between Newcastle and Tottenham. And so TV will continue. We'll also continue on Facebook Live. And tomorrow at 10 a.m., the whole discussion from the beginning to the end will be played back on radio at 10 a.m. Yes. So we will take a short break, return. Take the match, the live radio commentary on the EPL match between Newcastle and then Tottenham on radio, but we'll continue on TV. I'll come back and ask the civil society guys if indeed this reshuffle thing, the reshuffle exercise we've seen has got anything to do with the work of the Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, whether indeed he made any input in all this at all. All right, so we'll come back. Don't go away.
Live music, interviews, poetry, and more with your favorite personalities. Be our guest on Saturdays from 2 to 4 p.m. for the most exciting moments on TV.
Emom senyi mayawa men semizin sekeza maya mawa men semizin sehuza maya mawa men semizin senda makuchenyiza mere nkawi o.
Join Kojo Akoto Boateng for real entertainment right in your living room. Saturday live on City TV and City 97.3 FM.
For regular news checks as they unfold, 2020 news all day, all the time. Politics, sports, entertainment, business, and more. 2020 news. We bring you the world in 20 minutes.
And that's all the news in 20 minutes.
Wherever the weekend sporting action happened, we will bring it to you here on Scorecard. Every goal, every dunk, every punch, the winning strides, and the winning volleys.
International media, he said, look, wait, sit and wait. Let me have a meal with my people. And I think that that's the same cool, it's the same organization he brings to the field every time I've seen him play. He looks to me like somebody who has played over 50 caps already. Okay. But this guy has barely played over 25 caps for the national team.
All of the weekend's action in one place. Scorecard, every Sunday at 7:30 p.m. prompt on City TV.
All right, you're welcome back to The Big Issue. We are live on City TV, and my panelist, I keep calling him Boachi Jako, Honorable Emmanuel Ejako, MP for Ayawaso West Pogon, indeed, brother to the former Energy Minister, Boachi Jako, Inusa Fuseni Alaji, MP for Tamale Central, Franklin Kujo, President of Imani Africa, and Sydney Kosili Hayford, financial analyst and member of Occupy Ghana. We were on the reshuffle issue before we took that break. I will go to Inusa quickly to talk about, I mean, the minority leader made a very important point earlier in the week about the proposal that the government should consider introducing an ally or enacting a law that will restrict or restrain successive presidents from appointing more than 65 people to serve in his government. He made that point mainly based on the fact that doing so will save the nation some money. I don't know what my panelists think of it. I will quickly start with Inusa, then we'll do a quick one around the table.
I think that's a call in the right direction. We have been told that ethics is very important in governance because it's the foundation for the credibility and trust that the citizens can repose in politicians. When you find that when we are in opposition, we are the moral crusaders on the sides of government and how the public press must be protected. And then we come into government and suddenly realize that there's no compelling reason why we must implement what we were talking about because there's no legislation. And so if we introduce legislation to get us to do exactly what we say we can do, or we should be doing, then that's good and it can only be commended. Secondly, you look at the Constitution, you take the whole reading of the Constitution. Now I'm in review that even 65 is too huge. When you take the Constitution, you will find that 40 is the number probably that the Constitution was looking at. And all presidents have hidden under any other ministers to increase the number. Because the Constitution says that the president must have a cabinet of not less than 12.
Not more than
19.
Yes.
So if you take the upper limit, you have 19. Then you have Article 88, which establishes the office of the Attorney General. It says that he shall be the Minister of State. Okay, so Attorney General can be a cabinet minister or a non-cabinet minister. It always says that he shall be a Minister of State. So if you decide that the Attorney General will not be a cabinet minister as part of the 19 ministers and add that Attorney General, you get 20. Okay? Now you go to regional ministers. The only time that ministers are mentioned in the Constitution by designation is regional ministers and deputy ministers. Presently, we have 10 regions. So 10 regional ministers and 10 deputy regional ministers. So in fact, in the Constitution, the deputy regional ministers are not to assist the regional ministers. There are functions that to perform designated functions. That's why they don't say that the president shall consult the minister of the regional minister in designated deputy, because it's if they say so, it is not compulsory to appoint a deputy minister, except where you have special responsibilities for some other person other than the minister that you want to constitute as a minister or a deputy minister to do the work. So when you add all, you get 40.
Yes, but given the bigness of the job and as
what bigness of the job?
As they've said,
what bigness?
Given quote the mess that the NDC left behind.
What mess?
It will take.
It's not.
It will take.
It's not about any mess. It's not about any mess.
They had about 90.
You see, let me tell you what they are.
When they were there, they had about
84. We never 85. 84. Now, what is happening is, you see, is the whole governance architecture that we are running that is creating this difficulty. Kufuor was very honest enough when he said that even if it means that creating a minister for railways, I will do. Because he knew he had the power, and he knew that he had to meet the felt needs of the people, and he also knew that he had to satisfy those who had gotten him into power. Nana Akufo-Addo has taken it to the extremes. Anybody who has contributed meaningfully to Nana Akufo-Addo's campaign has been made a minister.
This is a sweeping statement.
That's what I see.
That's a sweeping statement.
And I don't think that you are suggesting that I should close my eyes to what I see.
So you didn't see me.
I didn't see you making a meaningful contribution. You would have been a deputy minister or a minister.
You would have been a minister.
So you see,
so next time maybe if his argument is ready to go back.
That's it. That is what I'm saying. So the minister, the man.
No, but are you by that saying that Ejaku didn't contribute to
his brother was given the nod? Maybe now that his brother is of human being, he made contributions. There was another person who made contributions who was promised a ministry, and they collapsed it. They said they were going to
Franklin Kujo.
And they collapsed it. And then
who is that person?
I won't mention the name. He knows that person. The person who is watching now knows that. I know that. He knows.
He's just being mischievous.
So you see, then you go and create all these ministers triple in a deputy minister's office, and you have said it. You see, sometimes you say one thing which supports the position that we are all advocating, then you tend to support the president, and then I see the inconsistency.
What have I said?
You say that the minister is just for policy, it's not implementation, and that's very right. So what is it that you have a minister and 3 deputy ministers, or you have a minister, 3 deputy ministers, and a minister of state in charge of tertiary education doing in the Ministry of Education? Because it's policy. You have said it.
Oh, but you started that in
No, you have said it.
Yeah, so?
Well, I'm not saying that we started it. Repeating mistakes has never been thought of as being experienced.
Really?
Yes, it has never been thought of as. If we did that, and you think that it was wrong, and you wanted to reduce the number, you don't aggravate it.
It depends on
given the opportunity, all that the MPP said they would do, all that the MPP said they would do. Given the opportunity, they've done worse than NDC.
Did we say
what kind of life is that?
All right, so,
I think that we must look at the context. Haruna said this when he was speaking at the public sector reform, the launch of the public sector reform document. Is that right?
Yes.
So that is the context.
Yes.
You see, I have heard people talk about the size of your cabinet or the ministers is too big and all of this, and people have gone on and compared the size of governments, okay, with the size in some advanced jurisdictions. Let's take the UK. Look, in the UK, there is a solid civil service, and I would venture to say that even if there was no political direction, the civil service in the UK could run government. Solid. that has not become what ours has become. I think the challenge we have in this country is that over the years, and I would want to say that we started off quite well. The colonial masters left us a very good legacy. We had a very good civil service when they were exiting. But I think that over the period, and I blame all of us as politicians and actors, we have sort of changed the face and character of the civil service. Today, I would venture to say that some of the civil servants are more political than the politicians themselves. And anytime we come, we would want to load the civil or the public service with people we feel are sympathetic to us. That has become the blame we are suffering now.
How do we correct that? How do we start bettering or improving that?
I think that the issue about public sector reform is critical. I think the issue about public sector reform is critical. If all of us as a nation, and this must not become another NDC MPP football. We must all stop. The psalmist will say, pause, Selah, and reconsider. We must pause and relook the public service, the civil service. If we did, then maybe some of the ministers that are appointed might not be necessary. But if you are not too sure of the quality and the caliber and the loyalty of the civil service, then you want to be there policing your policy. That is what I think.
That's the argument that has always characterized the MPP thinking. And that was the beginning of the collapse of the civil service in Apollo 568. That was it. You have mentioned before Apollo 568.
Yes.
Before Buze was sworn into office, for 2 weeks or so, this country was being managed by civil servants. Is that not the case?
Yes. So
then Buze took over and then did a swoop and got this mentality that the civil servants who were in the office could not be trusted because they were appointees of the.
It was not only because they were appointees; there were some who were political appointees. And when you became minister, didn't you make changes?
No, I didn't make changes.
Oh, come on! What are you telling me? All right, this for me, it's a looming threat. And if you don't get, as far as I'm concerned, if you don't get the civil service right, if you don't get the public service right, then the private sector is in big trouble. Big trouble. It becomes the civil service. You, the policy ones, should tell me. Is the facilitator for public the private enterprise, private sector. But no, all of us around this table, I don't know who will disagree with me. Is that our civil service or public sector as it is now?
The first is you disagree with you.
Okay, who says he disagrees? Oh, why not? It's okay, no problem. So I place it in context. If we as politicians back off and let the civil service be what it is, okay, we must just let it be what it is.
Very well.
I am certain that a lot of the things then the position Haruna takes would be right.
So the condition precedent is that we must first concentrate on reforming our civil service, make it a bit more professional and better. All right, I want a comment from Franklin on the monitoring and evaluation bit and what input that will be making into reshuffles.
Well, first of all, I'm not a fan of any renewed efforts at reforming the public sector.
You're not a friend.
I'm not a fan.
Reforming the public sector. But the private sector is effective.
Let me. There's a context to this. At the last council, when you guys were leaving office, there was a document presented to cabinet on public sector reform. And then when the new folks came to office, there's a budget I've seen, about $170 million in order to reform the public sector. And I asked myself, what do we need all that money for? The public sector is made up of people who are working, who are collecting salary, who have not been given benchmarks, or if they have been given, as far as I'm concerned, they are not probably delivering, right? there are just a few of the ministries that you have civil servants. In fact, sometimes you have to nudge them. Ministers and co have to nudge civil servants to do their work. And I'm asking myself, what's the business of trying to reform a sector, continuously pumping money? You know how many private sector donor-driven projects that have gone into our public sector reform since time immemorial? It's just like the private sector development, programs. So much money has gone into it, but we don't seem to get up and do anything with it. So, in the wisdom of the president, we had the monitoring and evaluation ministry. I think it's one of those ministries, even though initially some of us had some concerns. I think it's one of those ministries, at least to the extent that it's elevated to a ministry, it gives us some power. Otherwise, it would have just been like when Tony Edu was sitting at the presidency, hoping that Honorable Nusa would send him notes. He never did, because he was just sitting as an appointee for monitoring evaluation. Nobody bothered him. So the monitoring evaluation unit or the ministry is a very, very important one. And to the extent that we haven't seen any of their, well, I'm sure they've done something. I believe they've done some work, which must be put out for us to see. That should have actually preceded the movement of people, or if there's anything at all. I believe that report is so useful. But as a whole public sector reform effort, I sincerely think that if we run the risk of, repeating the same things over and over again and then just putting money, that money can equally, unless of course we are being told there will be systems. And again, smart governance means that you are using probably electronic systems, which also means that the people who are managing the systems must be trained to understand what they are putting into the systems, So public sector reform, I think my point I'm making really is that it's an overflogged issue.
Very well.
And I agree that if you have a very efficient public system, well, it means that the private sector would be enhanced. But at this juncture, I'm a bit shy of the monitoring, what's it called? I never addressed the Haruna question about the 65. I think it's useful. I mean, there must be some optimization of what you want in an economy. And what that means, you also need to know what skill sets you need in order to prosecute your agenda. So it's a welcome call. There must be some consolidation at the point. And I think that these conversations are useful. But as a general rule with me, public sector reform, anytime I hear it and there's a budget to it, because that sector swallows a lot of our money already. I mean, look, the reasons why education service, for instance, takes substantial amount, the education sector takes substantial amount of our GDP. But what do we see, in terms of the quality outcomes? Not just that, every other ministry swallows a lot of our money. Compensation and wages take a chunk. But what do we get in return? Maybe that's why the president decided to appoint 110 ministers.
No, 111.
No, I think it's still 110.
No, 111.
No. All right. So, Kiyama said the intentions of government are good, but we are spreading ourselves too thin. # the big issue. In my view, Kojo Nkrumah deserves to be substantive minister for information. Peter Mewu was doing very well at Lance, and hope he will replicate same at the energy ministry. Other ministries must be dissolved if we are serious for development. # the big issue. Sydney, we do not need strategic political moves, but results-oriented development. The try and error is just too much. We were promised competent men and women to deliver concrete results to impact the lives of Ghanaians. That is what we demand. # the big issue. Let me take this final one. # the big issue from Hero Boy or Hero Boy. He says, I'm not a big fan of reshuffling ministers. If one is excellent, that's great. Keep them and let them raise the bar at the ministry. If they are mediocre, sack them. Don't move them to infect other ministries with their mediocrity. All right. We want to quickly move on to and look at the issue of the banking sector. This week.
No, he's said that.
No, I want you to
shouldn't
take
comment on the Haruna 65.
No, I thought you were taking the last buffalo. so let me take.
This guy.
All right, so Cindy, just give me a 1 minute on the Haruna thing. There we go.
Celeb, you're being very mischievous today.
No, I thought God is reserved. Which is the last buffalo for you.
Which is making me even more mischievous.
So Cindy, we are all yes.
You see, I think that if we are to actually cut our coats to fit, number one, you don't need regional ministers. Okay? In every region, there's always one dominant district capital.
Yeah.
The person who actually wins the district capital should be able to become the leader of the whole region and manage the region with the rest of his DCEs. So you don't really need a regional minister. So if you cut out the regional minister, you don't need the deputies. That alone, all right, at current numbers, will save you 20 positions.
So no regional ministers.
No regional ministers.
I agree with you. But I agree with you to the extent that.
But that's
why I oppose, in principle, the creation of new regions.
And I oppose the creation of new regions as well.
Yes.
So you see, as far as I'm concerned, if you get rid of those 10, and then you get rid of their deputies, that's 20 people saved.
So when they put it in your manifesto, why didn't you stop it?
But it's just like when we sit here, we all argue. We don't agree on one thing.
I'm surprised at you.
So you see, immediately by not doing anything major, you get rid of 20 people.
Yes.
All right. So that reduces your number down considerably. Then if you fully devolve authority in certain key areas down to that level, district level, you will be able to reduce a lot of ministerial positions. If the districts are handling their own sanitation, you don't need a sanitation ministry. So you get that will go. If the districts are handling their own affairs,
to coordinate all those.
Yes. If the districts are handling their own affairs, you don't need a minister for business development because they'll develop
their own
for themselves.
Local level.
You don't need to have a minister hovering around as in a ministry.
Distributing checks at the Flagstaff House.
See,
the Jubilee House now.
And I can go on and on. All right, but let me just say, if again districts are handling their own affairs, then the Minister of Finance doesn't need 3 deputies. You still need a Minister of Finance, but he doesn't need 3 deputies.
The Minister of Information doesn't need 3 deputies.
Absolutely. So you can get rid of 2.
There are 2 now.
You can get rid of 2 or all of them, and then the minister can work directly with the person who is, been nominated as the leader of the districts within the region. Okay, so you can shed a lot of weight like that and allow the districts to take charge of their affairs and not make it the responsibility of a national government.
All right.
And then here comes the controversy. If you do that, then you don't need a minister for parliamentary affairs. Because his job now, you can have all your parliaments and your little things at your district. So you can have district parliaments, and they are the decision body of the district in order to bring a check and balance on the chief executive.
We have a semblance of that in the where we have the presiding.
the district.
So
why don't you need a leader of government business? I mean, are you saying we should abolish?
So the majority leader.
No. What's the leader of government business? The leader of government business is the president.
Oh, come on.
We can.
The leader of government business.
You see, you are mixing concepts. When you say leader of government business, it's a British concept.
Yes.
It is.
And the prime minister is the leader of government business.
But
our constitution is not like that. So our constitution is not like that. So you don't appoint. It means that the head of government is the leader of government business. Who is the head of government in Ghana?
The president.
So she's the leader of government business.
Oh, come on.
That is why the African peer review mechanism said that we didn't need a minister for parliamentary affairs. That's why. That's why how it came out.
So you see, in my mind, we can modify everything that we are doing. We can shrink down the size on the national cake. All right, so much so that at the district level, their responsibility now becomes to find enough revenues to be able to handle their little regions. If you do it that way, then the national budget is not burdened with all of these unnecessary appendages.
Very well.
And you will solve the problem. But to legislate it, you see, to legislate it is wrong. Because if you say you should not appoint more than 65, then what is the difference between an NDC 65 and an MPP 65?
It means that all of them must work within the 65.
But
because we won't have because we might not have presidents like Sydney.
Or you will never have a president like me.
Good. And so we have to keep them. We have to limit the power of the president.
You see, what Sydney is talking about here?
You can do it in so many different ways.
Sydney, what you are talking about here is that you are questioning some of the fundamental of our constitution.
Yes.
Can we relook and rework?
Yes. Yeah. And we should.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind.
Because I don't see why the constitution doesn't put a cap on the creation of regions and districts, and I don't get
the constitution couldn't have done that. Anyway, so
but there should be at some point. But the geographical land space of the country hasn't.
I will still maintain that if we had a good public service, a lot of these things
would not be necessary. Very well.
I
want
to start a discussion on the banking
public
sector.
service itself is too big anyway.
Yes, I agree.
And it needs to be shrunk down.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
New stuff have come up. All right, Sydney, I want to start a banking sector discussion with you. I mean, we don't actually have a lot of time, and because we've dealt with the subject in previous weeks, same as the education one. But this week we saw some documents purportedly coming from the Bank of Ghana, which detailed some of the infractions by UT Bank and Capital Bank, which led to their collapse, if you like. For example, we hear in the case of UT Bank that Moabing, for example, hid some 5 million cedis, which were repayment of loan from the UT board. We saw how the Bank of Ghana's weak supervision resulted in the collapse of those two banks, and in some cases how the UT shareholders fought over shady royalties paid to UT Holdings, and a lot of those. But some of the parts that we find, or a lot of, you can sum up all these under some heads. One of those will be that there were instances of weak corporate governance in the banking structure or the structure of those particular banks. The question is, who is supposed to ensure that corporate governance rules, for example, are strictly adhered to? You know, in some instances, you have the representative, the IFC, for example, not appointing a director when they were supposed to. They never did, and so the board operated under the number of board of directors it was supposed to have, 6 instead of 9, amongst other things. Whose duty was it? UT Bank. Whose duty was it to ensure that these things were done? The Bank of Ghana, obviously.
Yeah, I think you guys are mixing up a lot of things, because nobody seems to have been able to desilt everything that has gone on. Let me take the one that you've addressed mostly, which is UT Bank. The other minority shareholders in UT Bank, IFC and DEG, who you say did not appoint or were supposed to appoint members of the board and they didn't. That has got nothing to do with weak governance. That is the shareholder's prerogative. If he wants a seat on the board and he feels it's important enough for him to know what is going on with his money, then he will appoint somebody to that board.
Yeah, but the point made in the document was that given the stature of those institutions, the G and IFC, if they had appointed people to the board, perhaps they would have injected some semblance of sanity into the governance of the bank.
Because you assume everything that the IFC does, or that DEG does, or that the World Bank does, is automatically a success?
Not necessarily, but because of their background, if you like, some of those things which were obvious infractions of regulations wouldn't have occurred.
Do you know how many decades and how many times the World Bank has been giving us financial advice and support? Even during the last government's time, we were told that they had gone to the World Bank for policy credibility. And yet the whole thing still collapsed. Most of the targets were not met. Most of the deliverables were not met. And it didn't work. And the World Bank has been supporting and propping government up, this government, Ghana governments, for decades. It never worked. So that assumption that if they had put somebody there, it might have prevented anything, it's a load of bunkum. All right? You cannot make that assumption. So back to my logic. A shareholder who has more than 5-10% in an organization chooses to put a member on the board or not. Okay? He chooses to do so. So if he decides he will not do it, then there's nothing you can say on the matter. None whatsoever. Okay? So that's point number one. Point number two, things that happened in UT Bank and Capital Bank did not happen because there were bad structures or weak governance. It happened because there were thieves. All right? In those banks.
So
people were trying to steal money.
And the thieves were not caught. The system, the governance system couldn't arrest them or catch them, as it were.
The governance system has its own problems because there were thieves there as well.
Okay.
All right? In the Bank of Ghana, the Banking Supervision Department, what went on, if you can think that somebody can actually get a banking license through fraudulent means, okay, it must have been with complicity from the people who are supervising and regulating it. Atu Estienne couldn't just have gone to the Bank of Ghana and say, give me a license to operate a bank, and then they pick up a piece of paper, sign and give it to him. Because there's a process. There's a procedure that you go through. Okay? So when you have element of thievery within a system, whichever way you do it, people will find mechanisms to steal. If they don't do it by themselves, they'll do it by colluding with other persons in order to ensure that they get what they want. Okay? So that matter, you need to look at it as you have a group of crooks in the system whose intention was to make this thing work. If Amwabeng has diverted 5 million cedis of the bank's money in one way, that 5 million cedis can in no way collapse the bank.
Yeah.
All right? It can't collapse the bank. The bigger issue are the loans that they gave out, non-securitized.
Absolutely.
With inadequate collateral. All right? To single persons. Ibrahim Mahama alone was given a facility of 300 million together with his related companies. And you did not take enough security on that. You are setting yourself up for disaster. All right? And then we come up and we are talking about politically exposed persons. Yes. That terminology simply means that his brother is the president and his brother is capable of stepping in and doing something different, or at least depriving the bank of certain facilities and certain funds where necessary. Okay? But Ibrahim Mahama was involved in UT Bank. Ibrahim Mahama was involved in UMB. Ibrahim Mahama is involved in ADB.
No.
And we haven't seen what is going on at NIB yet.
GCB.
All right? At least GCB is standing somehow. Okay? But you have to look at things from the perspective of bad nuts and crooks within the system. If we were all doing things proper, according to the books, according to the rules and regulations set up, we were following the law and principles, there will be nothing wrong in this country. The reason why it's failing is because there are crooks in the system. And until we start looking for those particular crooks and sorting things out, we will never win.
Very well. Franklin, the auditors, I mean, they always have internal and external auditors auditing their books and all that. Will you say that the auditors didn't see these things or they were not flagged properly? How did these escape the eyes of the auditors?
Well, isn't it the case that in the in the matter of the Capital Bank, here there were some exchanges in terms of some communication that went on, flagging the issues anyway. I mean, I can understand that an auditor's job, internal auditors, by the way, that's a very good one, by the way. Internal auditors, as long as they are part of the whole financial accountability process within the organization, they may be able to see these things from the start. That is, if they are included at all. Of course, external auditors may also be able to find, given certain remits, they may be able to find what they want to find. But as it's also likely that depending on how financially engineered some of these activities are, it may be difficult to see. Because truth be told, I mean, my understanding in finance, if Sydney can correct me if I'm wrong, is that the way some of these things are done, somebody owes a debt, he says, well, like, give me an opportunity, I can turn it around, you know. When an auditor is told that, and then he sees the plan, sometimes you ask yourself, unless we probably have a third eye to be able to say that, look, maybe what you are getting yourself into is quite risky, which is what I'm told some of them did in a way. Advise that, look, you are owing too much. You cannot be exposed any further. But then some also say, well, listen, I know I owe, but this just this last one would unlock further opportunities, and then there we go. Unfortunately, I mean, what is expected doesn't really happen. So I don't know. My only limited interaction with auditors at my very limited, within my limited space, is that they always would work with your internal financial arrangements, and they'll flag issues which goes against or in line with what the established norms really are. So, but you see, it's about the personalities also involved. If there are strong personalities within certain establishments, it makes nonsense of the internal auditors, actually. So I don't know. I mean, I feel it's unfortunate these things are happening. But as I've stated elsewhere, anybody connected to these kinds of infractions, as long as they are proven, must face the law. It is not enough for our money to be used to shore up or to, as it were, bail out these persons.
Very well.
I don't think it's wise.
Yeah, Honorable, do you think
and they should be able to lose properties as well, especially those that can be identified. And if it is important, they should make some time in the gulag.
The Christian Council, Honorable, the Christian Council has spoken. Think that these people must be prosecuted. I mean, the directors and shareholders, the directors of the banks mainly, and the management of those institutions must be investigated and prosecuted if possible. Civil society organizations have also spoken. Do you think that we are angry enough about this situation and how the process should be shepherded?
Oh, so we aren't angry at all. We have not yet appreciated the intensity,
the bigness of the thing,
the bigness and its impact on us. All the collapsed banks, we, the people of Ghana, are electing to write off their debt.
Yeah. And carry it on our heads.
And carry it on our heads.
Sir,
yes.
Before we go there, and you are a lawyer.
Yes.
Tell me, does the finance minister have our authority to offer to put 5.7 billion cedis of our taxpayers' money
to
be able to promise? Is there a legal precedent
There's
that
no
gives him
legal
that authority?
I cannot do that, but they've elected to do that. To use our money. You know, 5 point. What they are
totally
what you are
8
telling
billion
us,
now.
What we are saying now is that some group of people who decided to carry on lawful business and incorporated financial institutions have so squandered the money of their depositors that we, the people of Ghana, have decided to put together $2 billion of our money to salvage the situation. And Ghanaians are not worried. We are seeing that way.
We don't understand.
We don't see it that way. That's what we are doing.
What should we be doing as
we should be calling for...
The president has called us to be citizens and not spectators.
We should be calling for an investigation and identification of those behind this. It's a grand scheme.
But Atuesen has told us that investigations have been ongoing for the past 6 months. And then these documents leaking also should tell us that some investigations have been ongoing. Or that's not fast enough?
That's nothing. When you listen to double salary, and it's always in the papers. Double salary is always in the papers.
You are behaving like Franklin on Kelly GVG.
Yeah. And then you are saying that a group of institutions have connived.
They are people. Don't talk about it.
Human beings have connived to take our $2 billion.
And they are all sitting down.
Double salary is just how much?
What is it?
It's not
chicken feet. Swatting. And then every day is on front pages of papers. $2 billion. And we say we're angry. But we don't even understand what has happened.
You say la ila ila la.
We have not UT Bank. We've not understood what has happened. We think that that's something else.
Yes, let me
I have come on your
the breakfast daily,
and the word I use is I am indignant. Look, just before we wrote,
what's the local language translation? Indignant.
And where?
In the local language translation.
The local language
translation.
Which one? There are many local languages.
Your language.
I'm not sure.
That's why the people don't understand what we're talking about. You come and use big words like this.
Just before
I say why are you indignant to? I say why are you indignant?
Just before Parliament rules. What we have done is that we have mortgaged $2 billion
of our money.
But honorable, can Parliament hold an inquiry? No.
We are giving it to private sector people.
No, but $2 billion of our money in what?
To exchange. We are giving them to. We don't know what. So we can build some roads.
But is that a good deal?
I'm not saying it's a good deal. I think it's a good deal.
All right.
But you step back and think. So we had this money there, $2 billion, and then we had to go and do this. Why?
I think Parliament should.
I say this. There is a principle of natural science, Murphy's law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong, unless you stop it. Look, it is not only in Ghana that something like this, but in America some time ago, and they don't go and sleep. Once failed. The savings and loans
people went to jail. People committed suicide. People committed suicide.
I said they won't sleep one day. I come from a regulatory background. If people drink medicine in this country and they die, the heads of the Food and Drugs boss must be cut. In China, one time, children, I think 170 children died because paracetamol syrup was made from propylene glycol. Yeah. The man in charge of the Food and Drugs Authority was put at the stake and shot because his regulatory oversight was lost. 170 children died. Master, we are settled with a debt of $2 billion because some individuals
riding their flashy cars
have just chopped up our money. Are we listening to the things that we are hearing?
Shouldn't
are we listening?
Honorable.
I know all of us us have put our hands behind.
Parliament. So fortunately,
did you just hear that Modi says that we are going to go up from 60 debt to GDP? We are going to go from 67. Now we have struggled to come. We are going to shoot over 70% again.
Yeah. And what worries me?
What can Parliament do in this? When it happened in the US, we saw
first of all the incorporation of the consolidated bank. The Bank of Ghana can be Parliament.
So you guys,
and you guys, I don't know. And you decide that you are going to use our money. In a
serious society,
but if we didn't do this,
Parliament should be calling those directors.
I think what we need to. I think what government has done is that if they didn't do something immediately, there was going to be a huge run on all our banks, and there was going to be a major financial crisis. Like everybody, me.
No, but
I would have been going. I would have been at the back of Beige Capital asking for my money.
No, as I speak to you, there's a run on the banks.
I am not sure yet.
Oh, is that?
I am not sure yet.
Every day, go to the banks.
I am not sure
yesterday,
yet.
I received a call from Tamale. A woman had gone to the bank to take her money, and she was given 29th of August. And the bank is still working.
This thing that happened at some bank, and
banks may have invested some of the money anyway.
You see me, I am sitting here and I'm watching. These are the banks, so I don't believe we have heard the story of the savings and loans. I don't believe we have heard the story of some of the microfinance that are still standing. These are still waiting to happen on this country. You see, at the end of the day,
so you see
what has happened. What did the people use the money for?
You see, at the end of the day,
what has been the benefit?
Emmanuel, what we have to now discuss, and I hope that we can engage financial sector supporters in this. We now have to start looking at the failure of the system. All right,
it's systemic failure.
Major DKM happened. We called the Bank of Ghana.
Yeah, they simply did not know what was happening. I was in the chamber. The governor and everybody. They didn't know what was happening. They were lost. DKM. They were lost.
They couldn't even convince
somebody telling me. Is somebody telling me that this round tripping? I come to also today. I come and say I want to do a bank. And the money is 400 million. Nobody does any due diligence on where did I get the 400 million. And just because I can produce 400 million in some Ghana must go sack, they'll give me the license.
You don't even need Ghana must go sack.
It is important that the
banking supervision that you have deposits in their banks or pledging to make available to, and then you have your certificate.
Then I have a bank.
I appreciate the passion and the importance we attach to this. So, I mean, just to put a few of the things we've discussed in context. So, for example, the total amount of money being sunk into UT and capital alone by the government would have bought us some 2,940 ambulances, or built us 10 120-bed district hospitals, or bought us 6,125 incubators for hospitals.
Oh, we would have paid for free for 2 or 3 years. 2 or 3 years.
All right, so let me take a few messages and then we conclude today's discussion. Unfortunately, we've been unable to do the free SHS discussion, but we did that in weeks past. So, Salifu from Adina says the worst part of the president reshuffling is removing Boniface from the Zongo ministry. Though Mustafa Hamid is Islamic lecturer, he cannot practically handle Islamic issues and problems in the Zongo community better than Boniface. The difference between the two honorable men is that one is practical and the other is theoretically oriented. Well,
But the number Anamwa is there. Zongo, is you not?
Please ask Inusa if we need 275 ministers. This is from Anthony Azuge. MPs. I think I agree with Sydney. For example, the Ministry of Finance does not need 3 deputies. This is too much. Kweku from Abeka. Good morning. I'm really enjoying the show. In fact, the MPP government does not know that Parliament itself is an organ of government like the executive. The position of the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs is useless and a waste of the taxpayers' money. That's from Desire at Abeka. A few more comments before we wrap up. Fredewari from Soweto. In fact, I'm very sad politicians are talking in the studio as if they have no idea about the systemic failures they have contributed to. Mr. Jaco and Mr. Enusa are just making me feel indignant. On that indignant note, we conclude today's edition of the Big Issue, which came to you live from our studios at number 11, Dr. Martin Loop in Adabraka in Accra. And I wish above all things that may us prosper and be in good health, even as your souls prosperous. My name is Salom Adonin. My guests today have been Emmanuel Ejakun, MP for also West Wogon, Inus Afuseni of Tamale Central, Franklin Kujo of Imani Africa, and Sydney Kesley Hayford of Occupy Ghana, and he's a financial consultant. Do have a good weekend. There'll be a playback of the Big Issue on radio at tomorrow at 10 a.m. So you may want to catch it again if you missed it. Stay tuned in and enjoy the rest of our programs.